Siren Melfort was distinguished by her beauty. Her appearance was the hallmark of a blessed villain. Opening her eyes, the maiden could not believe that, having retained her memories, she had become a siren. It seemed to her that it was a dream. Ciri didn't need anything, but she knew the end. Being in the cold bell tower, she would cuddle the dying man. The young man who was with her was named Iges Ciceron Fonel Acarnia, a cruel man who had lived his whole life in misfortune, the son of a duke. When the master died, the former glory left the family. The new head had no business abilities. The money was squandered. It all led to tragedy. 7 merchant ships belonging to Acarnia, heading north, were caught in a typhoon and sank. A woman appeared who extended a helping hand. Countess Melfort. She agreed to invest in the business on one condition. The cunning woman asked that the family heir be given to her. The master signed the papers, and the boy ended up in a strange place. No one knew that the woman would immediately brainwash the youth. It was expected that Ages would be married to Serena, and the duchy would be absorbed. The countess thirsted for blood from the mixing of the two families. The young man had an incredible talent in magic that no one could compare to. The lady decided to brainwash the boy by any means possible, to subjugate him, so that he would obediently obey and love Serena. After being brainwashed, he began to blindly follow the girl. The lady used him as she wanted and destroyed his personality, clouding his consciousness. The novel's protagonist lifted the veil from him and took care of him after his consciousness returned to normal. One day, Aegis disappeared somewhere and then appeared in front of her. The beauty knew that the influence had worn off, so, mockingly, she decided to kill. Virgo quietly asked if Aji really wanted to get rid of her influence so much. He only nodded in confirmation. No one ever noticed the boy's pleading purple eyes. Only his mistress. He constantly cried and begged her not to give him into the hands of the countess. Mother possessed incredible strength. She managed to get rid of the wild heirs and become the head of the family, all thanks to her willfulness. The siren understood the situation. The way the boy was holding onto her skirt and looking at her with pleading eyes showed how much he wanted to escape. In the count's estate, no one showed compassion to Ajiz. The lady was a sadist. She did not want the wrong people around her. The brainwashing had 2 settings: to give in to Melfort and to love the siren. For the procedure, there was an illusion room with many incense sticks. No matter how much the boy resisted, every time the girl told him to calm down, it became easier. At that time, the girl was only 14 years old. She could not help him in any way. From some point, the brunette's face began to turn red when he looked at the lady. This was the first sign that the brainwashing was going well. Acarnia continued to ignore the order to obey Melfort. The only place where the girl felt calm was her bed. Once again, when she fell asleep, she was woken up by Aegis. Having stood up, the blonde calmly asked what he was doing. As if out of nowhere, tears appeared in his eyes. The Duke was reacting sharply to the physical injuries of his beloved. The feelings for Serena were never real. They were created artificially, because loving and believing that it is love are 2 different things. To calm the young man, the mistress allows him to lie down next to her. Adoration is visible in his gaze. The time will come when he will be able to free himself from the influence. 3 years have passed. The sound of bells is heard, which means the beginning of the funeral. The main character has become the Duke, Aegis's father. Everyone around feels sadness. Countess Melfort approaches the deceased's wife to express her condolences. She makes a sad expression on her face. The children are standing to the side. The brother asks his sister what will happen to Aegis. He must return home. Karen and Maxion are constantly arguing. There is always an unspoken struggle between them. Even though they try to control themselves, the ends of the hair begin to turn white. To avoid problems, they rush to him and cover their heads with a cape. The disguise was very weak. Ciri is good at magic, so she changed the appearance of her older brother Michael. However, the spell was lifted too early. Last night, Acarnia saw something in the illusion room and cut his hand. He is slowly going crazy. The young man sits tied up, his hands behind his back, on which there are shackles, and upon seeing his beloved, he begins to cry. The key to the magical shackles is always with Countess Melfort. She never lets it out or leaves it unattended. Somehow, the brunette removes what binds him. It's impossible. He doesn't say anything. Just hugs Serena. In the past, when the flushing had just begun, after a long period of exposure, the next day he would not be able to come to his senses for some time. AG smiles, because he really wanted to see him. Someday he will find out that the lady was at his father's funeral, but definitely not from her. To change the subject and not go into too much detail, Melfort wants to ask how the wrist is healing. Everything is fine with it. He notices how kind the lady is and addresses her formally, and from some point on, Aegis began to address her more respectfully. The girl asks him not to harm himself anymore. The brunette is afraid that people will stop paying attention to him completely. He has been neglected lately. The mistress has no right to give orders. The brainwashing is still not complete, except for her. He still does not obey anyone. It was painful for Serena to see how the guy felt. She decided on an extremely risky act. I will free him from the influence by any means. Akernia will have to return back to the duchy. He does not feel joy. Sadly asks if they are going to abandon him. They locked him in a basement, brainwashed him, and decided to throw him away like trash that no one needed. All the lady knows is the past and future of the main characters. She can't play the role of just a villain. Only Serena can decide what she will do. Reaching out and running her fingers through the brunette's hair, she asks him to prove his worth. Then she will not leave him if Aegis officially becomes the head of the family. A period of greater prosperity awaits them than ever before. The book says that if a man bows his head before Melfort, he will remain shackled for the rest of his days. The red-eyed one gives exactly 3 years to prove his worth, during which time she will have to find a way to free her mind from the influence. The mother called her daughter to her. She chose the date of Akernia's departure. There were 4 days left until everything would end. The brainwashing didn't work out completely, but the lady is glad that she has a daughter who can do it. Smiling, she offers Serena to make the Duke her lover. The blonde is surprised. In the original story, the heroine was not in a love relationship with Aegis. There was a different kind of relationship between them. The lady expresses that she is not disgusted by this idea, as her mother believes. But soon the man will officially become a duke, and it will be more difficult to make him her lover. On the contrary, it is good to have such a person nearby. Akernia is too uncontrollable. This should be changed. If someone heard the words that it is not difficult to enter into a relationship, they would probably laugh. Trying to make the mother change her mind, the lady reminds her that the groom's position still exists, which is more complicated, while a lover can be used and thrown away. The Duchess intends to use him as needed, and then forget about him. The offer is not bad. It is not necessary to go that far. The young man obeys unquestioningly. Unlike the late Duke, the title can be useful. Melfort wants to keep the guy at a distance, because the more he dies from the point, the more he will value time together. Mother also enjoys this rather fun activity. The lady plans to run away as far as possible, as soon as she removes the influence, even if she meets death. Aegis has been sitting in his room for several days now, and hasn't come out. It must be very tiring. He is informed of the decision. This amount should be enough to recover. There is not much time left to tell about the death of the father. The maid who was standing behind the door announces that Countess Melfort is calling Aegis to her. She did not say the reason. Ciri went with him. They were going to use candles on the young man again. A week had not yet passed, but he was leaving soon, so there was no choice. The dark purple incense candle, different from the previous one, looked more dangerous. The Duchess increased the proportions of Emolian and added a secret ingredient, increasing the amount of poison, which was tantamount to a death sentence. By stepping forward, Siren tries to overturn the sentence. No influence is needed on someone who already blindly follows his master. Grinning, the Duchess offers to test how well the young man obeys. She does not doubt the young lady's ability to control. She simply wants to teach the prisoner one more lesson. The last one. Aegis kisses her hand, and out of the corner of his eye, he notices that the lady has a displeased expression on her face. Understanding the hint, he kneels down and kisses her feet. There is a joyful cry and clapping of hands. Marina is asked to bring incense. Michael interrupts everything. The duchy's carriage unexpectedly arrives. Perhaps they gave the wrong date. He is not one of those who would make such a mistake. However, Mother believes. Sleep did not come, and when the girl fell asleep, she dreamed of the events of the book, jumping up in bed. She looks at her hands. It seems as if there is blood on them. The sensation is not pleasant. The novel has a terrible ending. Getting up and going to the window, the heroine looks at the stars. Korea has never seen such a bright sky. There is a knock on the door, and Aegis is standing on the threshold. Deciding that there is no other way out, the young lady points to her bed and offers to help him fall asleep. Without thinking, the brunette lies down, gasping for breath. But when she asks him to loosen his grip, she is ignored. Before falling asleep, the Duke tells her that he loves her, and Melfort wanted to pretend that she had not noticed the confession. Ajas went back to his native lands, to his estate. Maxion started asking about Charon from the very morning. There was a black eye on his face. It seems that something happened between them again. There is no other explanation. The young man recounts the events that took place that morning. His brother threw a gauntlet at the Duke. It was not a good day, so they tried to stop him. Despite this, the boy was not prudent and dared to hit him right in the eye. Throwing a gauntlet means challenging him to a duel. Before this, Charon had thrown down his gloves quite often, but had never been able to win. And what was more unfortunate was that Ajas could not attack the young man due to his influence, and his opponent constantly attacked while the duel continued, got tired, and then gave up. In the morning, Charon walks around angry. He always behaves like this. However, seeing a man leaving his sister's room in the morning, he became even more aggressive. Akernia looks like a different person. His hairstyle and image are completely different and reveal a different side of him. Approaching Siren, the brunette respectfully asks her to give him her hand. Charon, who is standing to the side, starts shouting for his sister not to do this, and they try to calm him down. The Duke is calm. He assures that even if the lady tries to take his hand away, he still will not let go. He gently bites his finger. It hurts. Not that much. I don't want anyone to take you while I'm gone. The trail will serve as a ring. There was no need for this. Because Ciri will not go anywhere, Ajas goes to the carriage. Time flies quickly. Exactly 3 years. Melfort is in the temple, not even knowing what to wish for. She just closed her eyes and prayed. At first glance, the maiden sincerely believes in God Elio. But this is just an illusion, nothing more. The saint greets Siren, a joyful smile on her face. She is glad to see such a person thanks to the fact that the beauty donated money. Juliana was able to help people from the slums. With a little flattery, the woman assures that the help is solely the saint's doing. She has her own reasons for pretending to be religious. The reason has a name. Juliana, it was she who freed Ajas from influence and became his last patron. You need to bring the young man to her and try to somehow explain what happened. The family's reputation could suffer, and it wouldn't just affect her. Ciri must be prepared for the fact that after asking for help, she will lose a lot. Maybe even everything. Even if it's not from the heart, she does everything that a believer should do. She says goodbye to the saint, because it's time to leave. The blonde nods, offering to show her the temple. Next time there will be more time for this. Melfort has little interest in the temple tour, but she absolutely must get as close to Juliana as possible. She will warn everyone else and immediately take the lady to her private quarters for the next meeting. The saint grew up in the temple, isolated from everyone. In her circle there remained those who feared her and those who responded to her. Ciri was different. The girl goes to the library. One of her mother's hobbies was collecting books, thanks to which the publications needed for study were almost always found in the library. 3 years ago, the Countess began trying to find out information about incense. In the last century, Amalian was used as a drug. The plant is highly addictive and dangerous, so suppositories should never be used. At some point, the lady managed to find a book about Amalian, but it was large and in a foreign language, so reading it took a long time. Michael came into the room without knocking. He didn't accept the words that his sister was busy, that she wasn't thinking about the wedding at all, and that the young man had one thing to do. It turned out that Ajas had come to see his beloved. 3 years had passed since the young man left. On Melfort's orders, the maiden often lived in the ducal house of Akernia. Ironically, she was much calmer there than in her own home. The lady enjoyed her rest to the fullest. The pleasant pastime ended after a year. Then Ajas began to write long letters, to which he received very short answers. Ciri had no idea that the man had decided to show up in person. In his last message, the brunette wrote about how much he missed her. There is one final reason why the Duke still dares to set foot on the estate's threshold. In response to the words that he needs to prove his worth, Akernia has grown amazingly and is now considered one of the 4 great duchies. The leap forward over the years has been enormous. The girl asks her brother to tell her that she is busy and will not come down to the meeting. Reading for several hours takes its toll. Everything swims before her eyes. The lady hopes that the Duke got tired of waiting and went back. However, she cannot be completely sure. Approaching the door, Serena opens it and bumps into Akernia. She asked to leave, but he did the exact opposite, so that the girl would not be cold. A jacket falls on his shoulders. The desire to see was too strong and did not allow him to leave. A hand touches his cheek. The young man's face is incredibly cold. Since he saw his beloved, he can go back. But it won't work, Siren insists. Go away, I don't have time for you. Recalling the past, the Duke says that he was allowed to stay close if he could prove his worth. Melfort said this because she wanted to motivate him more strongly. There was a sincere meaning in the harsh words. He became a pearl. This is not the final goal. He wants to make Siren an empress. High treason will have consequences. The brunette realized that he had been at a funeral and that they were talking about his family in high society, but nevertheless, he managed to return to his former glory. Gently kissing her hair, the man repeats the same as usual. Words of love. He only needs Melfort. The rest is not important. He loves her with all his soul and heart. The girl doesn't know how she managed to get back to her room. She has no strength left, and she falls onto the bed, her eyes closing on their own. 2 years ago, the lady began to avoid Aegis. Despite constant refusals, he continued to seek meetings. At that time, the girl still did not know anything about Amalion, and was feverishly looking for ways to free her mind from influence. Then, they managed to find a medicinal herb that showed excellent effectiveness in neutralizing the poison. Having made the medicine, the lady immediately went to the young man and asked him to drink it. Akernia would have drunk what was given to him, even if there was poison inside, because his beloved gave it to him. The young man's gaze immediately changed, lowering her voice. The blonde asked if they hated her. The man suddenly lunged at the girl, pinning her to the bed. His hands clasped around her neck. He was about to kill her, but tears appeared in his eyes. The lady had changed the original story, which meant she had changed her fate. There was no longer any certainty about what she would die from. At that moment, feeling as if she was suffocating, the beauty did not want to. The lady did not remember what happened next. But when she opened her eyes in the morning, she realized that she was still alive. The marks on her neck served as a reminder. The biggest problem in finding a way to neutralize the poison over the years has been that information is limited. One way was to interact with the elves. Relations between the two races are tense, but this was not always the case. The elves who succeeded in creating medicines also distributed medicines among people. First of all, only they could neutralize the effects of poisons. Therefore, they were necessary for people. About 30 years ago, something happened that destroyed the relationship between elves and humans forever. The cause of the trouble was that the daughter of the elven leader and the prince of the empire began dating, but for some reason, the girl was killed. Of course, the elves protested and demanded retribution from the imperial family, but in response, they were ignored. And eventually, those who did not want to retreat were sentenced to death for insult. The wrath of the race pierced the sky, and eventually, their interaction with humans was interrupted. Since then, they hide deep in the forests from human eyes, not showing themselves outside. Siren needs the elves, because no one else can neutralize the poisonous properties of Florent. In the original, the protagonist uncovers an illegal slave trade and rescues the captured son of the chieftain. The illegal trade was run by one of Age's puppets, Viscount Kalen, who was brutally murdered by his master in the original. The girl won't have another chance. She plans to free that slave. The siren showed up at the training ring. She asks Michael if he is busy and receives a positive answer. This is revenge for last time. Sitting down. The lady is going to continue. She needs something. The woman asks for an invitation to a slave auction. Tospo is the pseudonym of Viscount Kalen, known only to a small circle of people. Although at times the young man appeared easily manipulated and stupid, he was able to take his place among the people of the underground. The lady hadn't seen his cold expression for a long time, or rather, his true face. The man was trying to understand where the girl got the information from, but she wasn't going to explain anything to him, because it wasn't his business. When the hero voices his thoughts about information not being something you need to know, the blonde just snorts. It's better to keep an eye on valuables, and if something gets lost, it's not the fault of the person who found it. The beauty calmly says that she needs an invitation. No one knows where the next auction will open except her brother. There were quite a few times when he expressed a desire to use blood for experiments, once he was allowed. But after that, there were strange sensations inside. The red-eyed one offers 10% of her mines. This is more valuable than Tosipo's invitation. The lady received the mines from Aji's for her birthday. They contained many rare and valuable minerals, many of which interested her brother. But the Duke didn't care, so he gave everything to his beloved. The blonde lowers his voice, asking her to stop. He is not the one who would put his sister in danger for his own benefit. Turning around to leave, the young man does not notice until the very end that they're about to attack him. The Countess suddenly creates a sword. The lady is skillful and clever, so she cast a spell so that no one would notice anything. Michael warned that one should not try to attack, but my warnings seem frivolous to you. It was better to end this stupidity before it went too far. There was no way to retreat. Siri was ready to get an invitation at any cost, but she should have let her guard down. Her sword had failed. She'll have to use stronger magic to be able to stand up to her brother. Smiling, the blonde clarifies why Michael is so against it. She just wants to attend the auction, nothing more. The request made him really angry, which is surprising. The lady knows that she is looked at like a flower in a greenhouse. For him, she is still a small and stupid child who needs to be looked after at every step. The battle is amazing. The lady will have to win, otherwise, she will look even more stupid. After a few minutes, Siren begins to understand that the plan has failed. Michael repeats the same thing he did from the very beginning. He can't be defeated. The girl doesn't see any weak points, but he's not going to give up either. He turns the handle. It's obvious that he just wants to stun, not harm. The difference in strength is too great to close the gap. Stamina is limited. The only way to gain an advantage is to use magic, although this will require complex calculations. In the midst of the battle, the lady does not have enough time. The man pushes the young beauty away. She falls to the ground. There is no other moment. The woman did not close, and her throat was wounded. She finished the calculation. An energy wave throws the young man aside. The brother lies on the floor and remains silent until he announces that he will not agree to less than 30% of the mines. Smiling, the beauty clarifies where the invitation is. It is inside the book, The History of the Imperial Revolt, on page 273. This edition is suitable for Michael. In a moment, Kilan is nearby. If anything is needed, he will definitely help. Michael's influence in the underground world is great. The man didn't doubt for a second, which meant he hadn't seen Lotto in person, that the elf would be sold at the auction. He was the main commodity. The man didn't doubt for a second, which meant he hadn't seen Lotto in person, that the elf would be sold at the auction. He was the main commodity. The main lot is always shown only at the very end of the auction. If you're unlucky, the main character will attack before the desired lot is shown. Lotto wants to see the elf. His status makes it much easier to reach him, so the girl is taken down to the basement. There are slaves in cages. The atmosphere is tense, and she's glad they'll all be rescued soon. The corridor is endless, which is starting to irritate her. Finally, they arrived at the right cage, approaching the very bars. The beauty tries to get a closer look at her face. It is peaceful. On her neck, there are marks and bruises, which indicate terrible abuse. The heroine, with the help of magical power, drives away Kilan. Even in blood and dust, the elf has not lost his shine. Smiling slightly, the lady answers the question. She is still going to buy it. This time, it is she who will save him. The young man does not say anything about whether he is interested in the reason. He seems completely broken. He doesn't care what they do next. The lady attracts his attention by promising to let him go back home. First, she has to help him get out of the slave cage. He doesn't understand what they are trying to say with this. Squinting in disbelief, the young man asks what the stranger needs. In exchange for salvation, she will ask to fulfill one request related to medicine. The man must prepare one antidote, and he will be safely released back home. He does not have to believe. The protagonist, Kipron, saved according to the knightly code of helping the weak, but the Countess's motivation is much stronger. According to the words, there is no choice left. The blonde decides to trust and shakes his hand, asking him to keep his promise. A piece of jewelry is placed on the hand, which will serve as a seal of the contract. A second bracelet also exists and is located directly at Melfort. Before leaving, the lady warns that as soon as the commotion begins, there is no need to try to escape. The man should hide and wait it out. He will definitely receive help. As it turned out, places at the auction are distributed depending on rank. To the loud cheers of the crowd, the bidding opened, starting with ordinary jewelry that emitted light, popular among ladies and nobles. It's time to move on to more important lots. Several slaves have been sold in a few hours. The wait seemed long, as if it would never end. Finally, they announce what was the most difficult to obtain. An elf of unearthly beauty is brought onto the stage. The bidding begins at 1,000 gold. Gradually, different prices are named higher. Siren interrupts and names 500,000 gold. The auctioneer starts counting. It seemed that victory was in her pocket. Someone says the fabulous sum of 5 million gold. The man is not just from a rich family. 7 million, the price she named, is quite a lot of money, enough for an entire castle. But 70 million, which the stranger is offering, is too much. A seed of worry is being sown within. Melfort can easily name a higher price, but if he continues, it will cause too much damage. But it is equal to the need to get the elf. Michael stays in bed. He feels like he's going to go crazy. He used to want to lie in bed all day, but he's getting tired of it. Serena is no longer a little girl. She can handle everything on her own. It's a little sad that everything has changed so much. Sometimes it still seems like the girl is still a small, smiling flower. The young man misses the old days, and despite everything, the excitement is still there. In the current situation, Michael feels helpless. However, he tells Akernia what the Countess will do, and a letter is sent asking her to take care of her sister. If it weren't for the news from the estate, it would have been a completely ordinary day for Aegis. The girl went to the slave auction. The man thought that his beloved had gone to look at the jewelry, and with this thought, he followed her. He recognized the girl immediately. Her bright eyes and small stature revealed her true identity. Even though she looked like a guy, she was beautiful. Soon I had to become disappointed. No matter what decorations appeared, the Countess had no interest. The time of slaves had come. They bring out the elf. The man reminds himself why he came, but still wanting to spoil the mood, he decides to take the young man for himself, not allowing him to be near Ciri. The lady understands that she needs time to come up with another plan in order to give herself time. She names a higher price. A roar is heard. There is dust everywhere. A beaten guard comes in. They are attacked by Knights of the Black Wolf. Serena understood everything as soon as she heard the noise. Kipron Eights had finally shown up. He is known for his strictness towards criminals and orders the capture of everyone who tries to escape. Those who are in the special zone still manage to escape. The red-haired man's gaze meets the Countess's, and almost immediately she leaves her place, finding herself outside. She has to quicken her pace and break into a run. The heroine has spent much more time than she planned. At the most inconvenient moment, one of Kipron's knights blocks the way. The heroine knew that something like this had every chance of happening, and she prepared herself. A formula was written on a piece of paper to slightly increase the speed of using magic. The beauty can handle it with a sword, but magic could save time. She gets irritated by constantly doing calculations. The brunette easily dodges the blade, as expected. Hypron really was recruiting capable knights. Sharp threads, completely invisible to humans, are attached to the blade. These threads cut everything in their path, and the body falls. The elf in the hall doesn't know what to do, but he remembers in time that he shouldn't run away and crawls into a corner. Since childhood, people around him said that people are greedy and selfish. The young man wanted to find answers to his questions. He went beyond the barrier late at night. Then he was caught by slave traders. The eyes, burning with curiosity, had long since died. Ekelt was discovered by one of the participants. Distracted from his thoughts, he dragged him along with him. The flames engulfed the stranger in bright tongues. The blonde never thought he would think of death as salvation. The fire doesn't burn him at all. Rushing forward, the man is about to break out and find the Countess. He has very little time left. A door is visible in the distance. Some unknown force has taken over his body. It no longer obeys. A blue-eyed youth stands above him. The closer he gets, the more instinctively he senses danger. Bending over, the aristocrat studies the find. He thought that the elf would die, but he survived. He is surprised. Initially, he was going to roast one pig. It would be a shame if a rare exhibit were to suffer. He becomes disgusted, as expected. Even a frowning expression looks great. Such beautiful features are encountered only for the second time in a lifetime. Although Eichelt is definitely inferior to that face, consciousness begins to cloud. Everything swims before his eyes. The body falls. Any hope is meaningless. It was given by the siren, but even she will not help. The blue-eyed man descends lower. The feeling is unpleasant, as if goosebumps are running all over his body. It was stupid to put hope in a person. The young man tries to make a final push. Everything ends in failure. Melfort is confused. The original didn't include the scene where Hypern met her at the auction. The chances of failure are very high. The lady had met the night before. They even danced at the same ball once. There is no one who does not know who Ates is. The voice was changed with the help of magic. But this does not change anything. The image of a man does not guarantee that the truth will be difficult to get to the bottom of. There is not enough time to use the magic of transformation. The gears in my head are turning restlessly, trying to figure out what to do next. Whatever the Countess uses, she is unable to defeat him in an open confrontation. It seems that everything is over. Something incredible happens. Someone covers the body with their hands and grabs it. Landing on the ground, the lady immediately turns around. In front of her is the one who tried to outbid her on Eichelt. The voice modulation magic flew off during the teleport. The stranger does not seem surprised, although it must be strange for him how much the tone changed. The man seems to know what the mistress's real voice is. The girl doesn't care what the brunette was running away from. She just wants to understand if he knows who is hiding under the mask. There is no answer, only silence. The beauty steps away and looks around the hut they ended up in, shamelessly asking again. But she needs help again. For this purpose, Eichelt was given a bracelet. The decoration was intended not only to seal the agreement, but also to contain magical power. In order for the body to move, the Countess would need to introduce magic into the circle. She tried to find a dark, deserted place. Drawing quickly isn't that difficult. The lady drew a new sign and asks the stranger to direct magic. For some reason, nothing works. There are no problems with the circle. The bracelet was obviously removed from the owner's hand. Ikeltu is unable to remove the jewelry on his own. It is configured so that only someone with magical powers can remove it. The woman asks to use the move again. Teleportation is a highly advanced power, and the number of people who can use it is severely limited. The man is incredibly talented. Since he uses tricks with ease, Siren asks him to return to the auction house. Even the most skilled mage would be exhausted after using teleportation once, but after using it several times, the guy is still not exhausted. He shows no signs of fatigue. Despite the refusal, they still move. After thanking her for her help, the lady wishes to go forward. She says that she will go inside, from the outside, of course. It looks crazy to go there, where the tongues of fire are burning. The mission is not yet complete. Insisting on his own, they ask him not to interfere. The words sound rude and ungrateful, considering all the help. If the auction hadn't been outbid, everything would have been fine. The young man wants to go along. He doesn't think he'll regret it. The girl warns that she'll use magic until the mania ends. There is no reason to refuse help. The hero is asked to move them to the second floor. The lady opens her mouth to say where they need to go. A chandelier falls nearby. Black smoke fills the room. The brunette understands who exactly they are looking for. He doesn't think there is any point in looking for him, because the man is probably already dead. The girl reminds that the stranger also wanted to buy the elf, which means he also saw his value. Shrugging his shoulders, the Duke declares that he sees no point in searching for the prisoner. A suspicious sound is heard in the distance. It is not the building collapsing, but something else. The maiden cannot be mistaken, because she clearly hears a familiar voice. The elf is lying on the floor, but in front of him stands a man with bright blue hair. He is smirking. Eichelt will be a good exhibit for him. And Siren, a good addition. The hand reaches closer. The lady pushes it away. Despite what happened, the young man is still smiling. He was pushed away. But this did not anger him at all. The brunette appears in time, who covers his face with his hands. A voice is heard offering to let Melfort go. In response to this, the man presses the beauty even closer to himself. It feels as if they already know each other. Perhaps they have met before. The Duke doesn't care what the blue-eyed man is going to do. However, if his goal is to kill the elf, it is better to do it quickly. He doesn't care about the fate of the young man. He said that he would help, but instead, he interferes with the plans, putting her hand to Eichelt's face. The lady exhaled with joy. He was still alive. the ceiling was starting to crack. If this continued, this building would collapse. The stranger wanted to play longer. There was absolutely no time left. It would be wrong to let the young man go so easily. But in the current situation, the girl decides not to pursue him. The brunette can create a teleportation not only for himself, but for all three of them. They find themselves back in the old hut. The smirking beauty asks how long Aegis will hide under the cloak. He thought he was well disguised. But this is ridiculous. He should have tried harder. No one would help in trouble without a reason, except for Ekernia, whose abilities and excessive protection gave everything away. For the good of the Duke, the girl is trying to free the elf, but she is simply hindered. He has a very upset expression on his face, which is visible even behind the mask. It is interesting to know what he forgot at the auction. It would be strange if the lady didn't find out. He's not going to accept the blame, because he's not the only one who hid his true nature. Melfort had a good time. It's good that everything ended well. The lady wanted to buy the elf for no reason. She had her eye on him for a long time. This is more like revenge for Plan A. Cyrena knows very well that she is the one who always takes the initiative. The girl wants to enjoy the moment. For the first time in a long time, the Duke took the initiative. He grabbed my hand, and looking at the bracelet, asked what it was. He needed to know why the lady needed it. The condition was that if you don't let me go, you won't see me again. Aegis is jealous. It's obvious from the very beginning. And since the girl knows this, she shouldn't act so cruelly. Just a few words made him change and become serious. To soften the situation a little, the beauty stroked Ekernia's cheek. The woman reveals all her cards. She plans to free him from influence. For some reason, her facial expression began to express suffering, as if he doesn't like it. There are tears in her eyes. Do you want to leave me? A bird in a cage gets used to it. If you open the door, it won't fly anywhere. Aegis is no different from a prisoner. He is not abandoned. The desire to free has nothing to do with this. Melfort has tamed the Duke, and will forever remain the one and only. He does not intend to let his beloved go. He is afraid of not only being abandoned, but he is afraid of losing his feelings. Cyrena does not know if she will ever be able to forget what happened that day. She was almost killed, and even though everything worked out, the memories do not go away without a trace. Even if the young man can become free, he will never betray his love. The girl is disgusted to realize that she, not loving Aegis, receives love from him. Albeit false, she does not deserve it. I would like the feelings to be real, but this is just a stupid illusion. Having remained silent, the Duke agrees to what is offered to him. He is not against trying to free himself from influence. He asks me to remember that if, after my consciousness is finally free, there is confusion in my feelings for a while and love fades, later he will deeply regret it. Most of all, I want Siren to be next to me. After the conversation, they teleported to the Ekernia state. Ekult said that he could handle it himself and left with Aegis. He said this specifically so as not to attract Melfort's attention. He also had another reason, but the lady did not object and did not insist. Recently, Mother gave orders to look after the guy at his home. A hard day was coming to an end. Going to bed, the girl can finally calmly close her eyes. A few hours later, the lady gets up and bumps into Aegis. He has a bottle in his hand. She won't refuse his request to have a drink together. Until the glass of wine is empty, no one will be the first to speak. Alcohol has its own power that will change the atmosphere. Smiling, the Duke suggests playing a game. The winner will be able to command the loser whatever he wants for 1 hour. Then maybe we'll play chess? As a child, none other than Melfort taught a friend to play chess. She never lost to him. Imagine her surprise when she lost all 3 games. The man won fairly, without using any tricks. On the contrary, the Countess was the one who tried to use tricks. Once she hit the table and everything fell. Another time, she replaced the figures, nodding. The young man each time pretended not to notice. All that remained was to admit defeat. So much time has passed that the gentleman somehow learned to play chess skillfully. It is not just using certain combinations, but a higher level that cannot be bypassed. Melfort asks what she will have to do during the next hour. She can only enjoy the loss. Aegis will not want something that will cross personal boundaries. To begin with, the young man asks to sit on his lap. He looks through his eyelashes, wanting to know if he can really wish for anything. He will not stop. Moving his hair to the side, the brunette leans towards his neck. A slight pain pierces the body. He bit the tender skin. The red-eyed one asks not to leave marks. Melfort jokes that he will play with another man. The Duke is not ready to accept the idea that his beloved might choose someone else. There is a strange feeling inside. The girl is cheerful. Taking the glass of wine, she allows herself to get even more drunk. The girl assures that she is sober, but her actions say otherwise. Time is up. She will have to go to bed, because in the morning she will have no strength anyway. The man lifts Melfort into his arms and carries her to bed, allowing him to lie down next to her, even though that was hardly expected, and repeats, "I love you." Later, the Countess sent a letter to the family, stating that she planned to stay on the estate, and Michael wrote back, asking them to be careful with Ajiz, in whom the beast was hiding. The days fly by until the elf wakes up. The lady prepares the ingredients to make an antidote to the influence on consciousness. A new letter arrives, this time not from the brother, but straight from the courtyard. There was nothing important inside. It only said that the imperial family wanted to hold a banquet in honor of the national holiday, thanks to which it becomes clear that Melfort is moving towards the beginning of the main events of the novel. The man is being beaten. The only one who could hold a grudge against him is Baron Iglin. They have their own problems. Asking a question, he receives an answer that makes him amazed. The Duke himself appears in front. The young man begs him for mercy, promising to do everything that is asked of him. Initially, the man was supposed to take care of the slave trade business, but everything went downhill after the last auction. Obviously, the chances of catching Kalen have increased, and if they catch him, they might find out that Aegis is behind everything. It wasn't difficult for him to finish what he started. The Viscount needs to be gotten rid of so as not to leave any traces. Added to this was the personal resentment that Serena had been exposed to danger at the slave auction, and the master had wished with all his heart to kill her in the most brutal manner, showing absolutely no mercy. Killen did a good job, for which he was thanked. A cry burst from his throat that he couldn't be treated like this. Blood sprayed in all directions. If the Duke reeked of blood, Melfort wouldn't like it. The girl is confused. Before the events of the novel take a serious turn, she needs to try to remember the original. On the day of the banquet, there will be an attempt on the saint's life. The culprit was a man from the pseudo-religious group, Pacius. They believed that their god would return if they made a sacrifice to him, but no one knows who the one they worship is. The difference of the organization is that all members are black sorcerers. Everyone has dark powers. Black magicians were the main culprits of the Continental War in the distant past. After the war, the Empire began to persecute them. Children born with dark magic were executed without exception. The only option for existence was to become part of Pacius. Their organization was officially recognized. The sorcerers did not stop, but then, for some reason, everything changed. At the event between the Saint and Aetz, there was a fuss of interest. A maid knocks on the door and asks to come in. The guest has finally woken up after 4 days, and a smile immediately appears on the street. Since he is expecting a meeting, of course, he needs to be seen in person and talked to. The day when Aegis will gain freedom is getting closer. Eichelt is sitting on the bed. The transformation magic is holding well. His ears are normal, and his gaze too. No one should see his true nature. The blonde man recalls how he was promised salvation, but in the end almost died. The girl asks for forgiveness. Having believed the words, he regrets that he trusted the man. Right before his end, the desire to live burned most of all. Suddenly, the elf smiles and thanks him. In the end, he was saved. If it weren't for his new acquaintance, he would never have been able to get out. The siren didn't think that she would be forgiven so easily. Turning towards the mirror, the man asks why he looks like a human. Seeing the expression on his face, the lady thinks that this time the young man won't leave so easily. In the evening, the maid reports that the master is a little late. He has a lot of things to do. The maid managed to calm the elf down. In the distance, footsteps are heard. It seems the Duke has returned. The heroine immediately asks to call Aegis to her. In the estate, she behaves like a mistress. Initially, Akarnaya himself asked to always give preference to Serena. Soon she plans to go pick out clothes for the banquet. The lady is pondering what kind of suit would suit Aegis until he appears on the threshold. The extent to which his body and head are wet indicates that the guy came running immediately, without even having time to dry himself off. The lady called him to her, so he tried to cope as quickly as possible, asking to give her a towel. The lady promises that she will help and offers to sit on a chair. She did not say the reason why she called. She wants to know what the Duke has been doing all day. He pretends that there is nothing interesting, because he cannot tell that he killed a man. She reports that Eichelt has come to his senses, and as soon as his body is restored, he is ready to begin making the medicine. You will drink it, right? The answer is a suspicious silence. The man is shocked. Just like back then, in the hallucination room. The difference is that he has no reason to experience problems. A moment ago, everything was fine. It becomes scary, because a moment later, the young man throws the girl onto the bed. He again grabs her by the neck with his arms, but does not use any force. Lowering her voice, the lady asks to listen to her carefully. If they are going to kill her, it will be a fatal mistake. It's impossible for the medicine she took 2 years ago to have any residual effects. The woman wants to escape and be free from everything, as she faces only death. However, no matter how scary she is, this time the girl won't go anywhere. Having arrived at the Elf's, the heroine apologizes for her late visit. She didn't want to disturb him, but she needs the medicine to begin being made. The situation is getting more complicated. Melfort suddenly has a guilty look on her face, because her friend has not yet fully recovered. A deal is a deal. The siren overestimates her intentions. There's no point in apologizing for the terms of the agreement. The heroine is going to tell everyone about her symptoms. The person who needs to be cured is the owner of the estate. The young man's condition is terrible because he was exposed to the influence of a Malian. Upon hearing this name, Eichelt freezes. His eyes widen in horror. It seems that he also knows enough about poison, even among other races. It is known as the strongest poison, a drug created from grass, which had a direct effect. The influence lasted for 6 years. The blonde asks to think again. This all looks very much like a mistake. A person is not capable of enduring such a period, because it is simply impossible. Melfort repeats the same thing. The effect lasted for a long time every week, sometimes even 2 times. Whether this is possible or not, Eichelt looks intimidated. In addition to the poison, brainwashing took place. The Countess understands that someday she will have to tell the whole truth. The time has come. She starts from the very beginning. During the night, he manages to tell everything that happened, from the moment the lady decided to free the young man from influence. A Malian is definitely located all over the body. First, you need to solve this main problem. The elf asks not to be upset and not to cry. He believes that the girl wants to do everything as best as possible. I will help you. When the girl was little, her brother always calmed her down. The man asks to get the same incense. He will figure out the composition. The chances of creating an effective cure are increasing, but at least one suppository is needed for this. The heroine is interested in whether the young man knows anything about Micho. This is the very plant Melfort gave to Aegis 2 years ago. A Celt is aware of this, but it is too weak. The properties are not enough to free one from a Malian forever. The effect will only last 5 to 10 minutes. That day, the Duke did not kill the Countess, only because the effect quickly wore off. She was simply lucky to escape the same fate. There are side effects, in case of intolerance. The herb intensifies the hallucinations of the poison. This plant is not suitable for getting rid of the problem. The side effects also appear within the first 5 minutes. This is no longer relevant to the matter of what they are going to do. The girl is left with questions. She doesn't know whether she was almost killed 2 years ago due to increased hallucinations or because of the release of her mind. The elf was detained anyway. Getting up, the blonde goes to the door. Even for Eichelt, this is a difficult matter. Out of habit, the lady goes to the Duke's room. Perhaps he is still there. Next to him, the beauty still cannot contain her feelings. The lady also suffers. The door swings open, and Agi stands on the threshold, grabbing her hand and asking where she's going. As expected, Akernia doesn't remember anything. He doesn't understand what he did wrong. The pain lurks inside. The lady returned to the room and immediately passed out. She does not remember anything. In the morning, the maid wakes her up. Her eyes look swollen. The mistress assures that she did not cry. The Duke was in a bad mood since the morning and decided to personally conduct training for the knights. Everyone left in dejected mood. Before the maid leaves, the lady asks to prepare the carriage. One important matter has come up. Initially, the lady was going to go with Aegis to pick out clothes for the banquet. Melfort has to go alone, and Blanche is greeted with a joyful smile at the clothing boutique. Melfort didn't book an appointment. The haughty Blanche was always in demand. Her calendar booked a month in advance. Melfort did not book an appointment with Madame, a skilled designer whose clothes corresponded to fashion trends. The haughty Blanche was always in demand with customers, and her calendar was booked a month in advance. As she approached, the woman handed over a card. There was one exception in the boutique. VIP status and a completely different service were given to those who were especially special. The owner herself comes out to the heroine, a madam known for her strictness, smiling. Even Silbinia is surprised. Saying goodbye to her, the blonde wishes her good shopping. I hope to see you at the banquet in honor of the founding. The girl doesn't have any particular design she'd like to choose. They offer her a beautiful red dress. It would suit her scarlet eyes. Her professionalism is evident, because she understood everything without words. There are only 5 copies of the outfit, and Melfort is shown it first. This is the part, looking away, the lady freezes. It is absolutely magnificent. The thing she created is something to be proud of. Blanche knew that her product would be liked. She has several more options to show, all so beautiful that it is difficult to choose. Accepting the praise, the designer expresses her opinion. It seems to her that the first dress suits her best. The woman wants to take it, and all the others too. Leaving, the lady asks to send everything to the Melfort estate. Lita stood outside and waited. But it was not difficult for her, meeting the heroine. She asks if they will go back. There are too many thoughts in her head. The lady does not know if she can return back. She is scared. The sound of a bell is heard behind. It seems to be calling to itself. This definitely cannot be a mistake. The lady turns to the assistant and asks her to go ahead. I will come later. The knight is sent to escort Lita. He cannot do this. He immediately objects, because his direct responsibility is to supervise Melfort. She explains that everything will be fine. She does not need protection. She can stand up for herself. The lady will not repeat it twice. The restless heart will calm down as soon as it climbs the tower. The lungs are burning. There is not enough air inside. However, the woman does not stop running. She moves forward. Without understanding at all why she came there, the heroine wants to hide in the shadow of the bell tower. Time flows as usual. After some time, the one whom Siren most did not want to see appears nearby. For some reason, the Duke thought that the beauty would definitely be there. When passing by, she always looked at the tower. The maiden reminded him of what she had said earlier in the morning. She didn't want to sound cruel, but the words just came out on their own. The young lady still doesn't understand what the man truly feels. He wanted to give her some time to rest from him. Everything didn't go as he planned. Only a few minutes passed, and he began to feel bored like crazy. The Duke has no pride at all. No matter how hard Melfort tried to push him away, nothing worked. It was as if he was being pulled back. Even if the influence on his consciousness subsided, the young man would not stop feeling love. Words about feelings are poison. The woman has no doubt about his intentions, because she knows what he will become when he is free. The heroine was unable to tell the reason for her morning anger. She's afraid to think about how the relationship will change if she suddenly finds out about what happened. The brunette wants to know what she did wrong. The blonde would like to know why he doesn't remember anything. The truth will never leak out. It is stupid to continue to believe that consciousness will be freed and relationships will remain the same. Nonsense is repeated like a mantra. A smile appears on his face. As soon as they return home, the Duke will immediately kill the elf. There is no reason to continue to keep him alive if the man cannot gain trust after he is freed. He does not want that. Continuing to live under control is terrible. The Duke probably won't want to continue living after losing his mind. He brushes it off. I'm fine with it because you'll be there. At least once, the girl must say that she believes in his words. Serena gives in. If Ajas really wants to know everything, she presses him to the floor and leaves her hands on his neck. He still does not remember anything. Feeling confused, the lady has no idea how best to begin the story. Or rather, from what moment the relationship will end. Earlier, the Duke tried to kill his beloved. You don't have to believe it. It doesn't change the fact that everything said is true. The words are not spoken to convince, Siri insists. Don't talk about how you love me anymore. Putting his head in his hands, the brunette almost cries and repeats that the feelings are real. Everything has become too complicated. He asks for forgiveness for causing pain. The lady cannot control herself. She begins to sob. Tears flow uncontrollably down her cheeks. Emotions burst out, and it is no longer possible to breathe. Aegis promises that he will try not to do anything like that again, and if he does, he asks to kill him. He is not saying that this will never happen. This does not inspire any hope. Inside, there is a feeling of fatigue, plunging into the kingdom of Morpheus. The girl sees a long corridor, at the end of which stands a little girl. In the same dream, there is also a duke. He is also still very young. There was a wound on his hand. It could only have been left by someone who didn't love the countess and couldn't be completely brainwashed. He resisted and screamed, "I shouldn't love someone like you." The attack happened instantly. Melfort wasn't the least bit surprised. The young man often showed aggression towards her, and back then, all he had to do was get used to it. Back then, it was hard to imagine Aegis loving the object of his hatred. The woman had completely forgotten about the memories of being so badly wounded. She was unwell. It was preventing her from dwelling on it. Earlier, Michael was asked to check the Countess's schedule. The estate should only be entered when it was empty. Eekelt immediately understood where the lady was heading. He himself asked to get Amalien's candle. His heart was beating wildly. The worries did not subside. Every time she closed her eyes, she would dream of Aegis as a poor boy who could not do anything. A little time passed, and Serena changed her mind. The Duke changed. She did not want to see his eyes. Completely empty, like jewels that had lost their light. He was just a puppet and spoke as if he was reading a book. Everything went according to the original narrative, and the lady knew that this day would come, but she was still surprised at how much the intentions changed. Mother's maid was always the one sent to look for the guy, and if they did look for him, it only meant that they were going to carry out another brainwashing. The lady always said that she knew nothing. Whatever she answered, they would still have found and held their session. At night, on that day, a young man tried to break into Siren's room. There were tears in his eyes, because he was not allowed in. Melfort thought it was unwelcoming. She shouldn't have gotten so close. The guy said it hurt. But still, penetrating into the chambers, he climbs in to hug. "I missed you so much." At that moment, something clicked in his head. The young man was pushed away after he fell. The Countess saw his broken look. He succumbed to brainwashing. The maiden asked him to leave her alone and spoke words of hatred, but nothing worked. Avoiding Aegis, the lady backed away, at the end of which a very high staircase awaited her. The tragedy happened instantly. The body fell down, seeing the blood. The beauty thought that he was dead. The Countess was afraid of him, but did not wish him death. Later, upon learning that he had opened his eyes, Ciri felt a wave of relief. The paintings in her mother's room spoiled the mood. They were all bizarre. The disturbing images distracted her a little. When the door opened, the beauty realized that Aegis was behind her, seeing the white bandage on his head. The heroine felt relief from the excitement. It subsided. The brunette is fine. He said that he is even happy, because his beloved hurt him. A lump appeared in his throat from disgust, not wanting to be near. The girl ran away again. It was very difficult for her from feelings of guilt and disgust. No matter how much the lady ran, she couldn't escape her fate. Their destinies had long been intertwined. Each time, Aegis asked him to help, but in such a case, the heroine couldn't do anything. She understood that she needed to take care of herself. Serena didn't want to hear anything. One day, something went wrong. A bright shockwave passed through the entire main hall. Akernia stepped forward, his powers growing every day. This happens periodically. The Countess has seen this before. The mother knew how to act for sure, and, going straight up to the young man, pierced him with a blade, asking him to come closer. She smirked. The daughter had no choice but to completely obey. The blonde made a sword. She had to pierce the body. At the moment when Aegis was overflowing with power, there was no other way to stop him except to act first. Siren doubted. Only the mistress is able to complete the task. The mother does not want to explain in detail what will happen next. Time is short, and since there is no other way, the heroine is ready to do what she has planned. Anything could happen to Aegis. He could die, but if he is not pierced, he will definitely die. The option where there is a chance of survival is better. That day the maiden swung her sword, and the young man almost died again, remained unconscious for some time, but eventually woke up. Since then, the girl stopped avoiding meetings. At that moment, she decided that she would allow herself to be killed and would do everything to free herself from brainwashing. It was all because of a feeling of guilt. Michael meets his sister. She gave him an assignment. To say what the reason is, the lady cannot. Someday he will find out. Before heading inside the estate, the heroine asks for one more favor. To stand guard, she will go to the Hall of Hallucinations and will not say anything else. Sister will sometimes write back, but only on the condition that she receives help. First of all, Serena plans to create a reason for coming home. She took care of this in advance and sent dresses from the boutique. There is no time to rest. All the servants have been called away. I didn't want to go to the basement, but my feet took me there on their own. Even just standing at the door, the gentlemen are worried. My heart feels like it's jumping out of my chest. The girl reaches for the handle. There is a terrible cold inside. The sensations are not pleasant. She wants to calm down, but inside there is doubt, because the candles are nowhere to be seen, although they should be nearby. There's a sword in the corner, blood spattered on it. Only Aegis can enter the room. He definitely didn't come to Melfort. Useless thoughts go away. The search continues further. Nothing works. Michael's voice is heard. He is talking to his mother and sincerely trying to stop her. The heroine understands that she needs to run wherever her eyes lead, because if she stays in the room, the end will come. It becomes quiet outside. The chance for a successful victory presents itself at the right time. The body weakens and Siri sinks to the floor. A hidden shelf is visible. As soon as the space opens, a huge number of candles immediately catches the eye. The woman grabs one of them, having previously prepared a fake candle so that the loss would not be noticed. All that remains is to run away. The Countess is behind her. In a low voice, she asks what her daughter forgot in a closed room. The mind is filled with fear. There are no thoughts left. It is too dark around. Smiling, the mother lights one of the candles. Michael is outside. He was put to sleep. Puzzles are coming together in the woman's head. Due to a mistake by the servants, she managed to read the letter sent by her daughter. Of course, she did this intentionally and was surprised when she saw the plans that were carefully hidden. Siri can't feel her body, coughing. She admits her mistake. Because of the candle, her consciousness is becoming more and more clouded. If the answer is not entirely convincing, the end will come. Looking straight into his eyes, the Countess admits that she was blinded by greed. So she did something stupid. She needed to influence a person, namely, Kipron Aetes. The scent of candles makes it increasingly difficult to control the body. The daughter was raised well, but the mistake was that she was poorly punished, constantly patronized, and allowed to do too much. Serena will not be released from the room. Only when she shows that she has sincerely repented, the doors will be opened for her, and she will remain inside for several hours. The Countess finds it hard to breathe. A maid stands outside, announcing that Duke Akernia has arrived. She wants to understand why he has arrived, but her consciousness does not allow it, and her body falls onto the cold floor. The head is intoxicated by incense. Soon the lady comes to. She is held in the arms of Ages. His clothes are on her shoulders, and they are in a dungeon. Attempts to understand the situation in more detail fail miserably. Disappointment, because nothing is completely clear. Based on the experience of the young man, he understands that his whole body must be hurting. The candles are deliberately causing problems, getting under the skin with needles. The brunette had put out the incense beforehand, but the smell remained. When they left, they would light it again, and the red-eyed girl immediately realized that this was the reason for her sudden improvement. Attention switches to his neck. The guy is breathing with difficulty and sweating heavily. His heartbeat is so loud, as if his heart is ready to jump out of his chest. Strange. But this sound brings peace, right up until the moment the Duke disappears somewhere. With deft movements, the boy manages to climb out of the cage. Before his eyes, he sees a vision of a little boy, repeating about love. The girl screaming, "She needs to calm down." She begs Ajasa not to approach and assures him that it is not a hallucination, because he felt pain. The brunette explains that it is the effect of the candle, but he is still scared. What if everything changes again? The incense room is truly a great place to destroy a person. The blonde can't understand how Akernia endured torture for so long. She's afraid to fall asleep. Her body won't obey. Her eyes are closing. Siri comes to her senses again in the carriage. The heroine pulls herself together and begins asking questions about why she came to the estate. The guy is interested in the same thing. Until his beloved gives a clear answer, he also refuses to answer. Snorting, the heroine decides to resign herself and explain. Reaching under her clothes, she takes out one of the candles. She had no choice but to steal it in order to obtain an effective medicine. The elf asked her to study the composition. Aegis gets angry. His legs press hard against the floor. As Siren said, after releasing the influence, the master will stop loving her. Aren't you too naive? It's worth remembering about the Countess. She's a terrible person. She can do anything. But the Duke won't help. The girl is in a belligerent mood. She can handle everything on her own. The young man imagines that perhaps someone has feelings for him. It seems impossible. No matter how beautiful the jewelry is, if it is a fake, there is no use for it. Love is like a jewel. Planning to move to the end, the lady wants to free herself from influence. She wants Ayus to no longer obey Melfort. Although if he is not bound, he will become a real beast, consumed by hatred. The Countess has long understood this, so if something like this happens, she will first get rid of him, and then of her daughter, who brought such trouble. Wanting to end the conversation, the blonde hastily reminds that the Duke still belongs to her. She asks the same question again. Why did you come here? Previously, he was informed that the lady had gone to the Melfort estate. The young man experienced pain in trying to remember what he had done wrong. He decided that they were tired of him and decided to leave him. In order to keep his beloved, the hero went after her. Serena's mother explained that they would not be able to see each other. Her daughter had done something wrong and was being punished in the hallucination room. Like no one else, the brunette knows how terrible it is to be there. The girl has no immunity to withstand torture. The Countess offers to join her. Then she will reduce the punishment by an hour. Until the very end, the guy could not understand why it was necessary to do something reckless. He wondered, doubted. Maybe they really loved him. The rest of the way to the estate, the lady was unwell. Maybe because of motion sickness or because of the conversation. As soon as they arrived at the place, being exhausted, she fell asleep. The beauty slept and woke up when the color of the sky was the same. It turns out the dream lasted 2 days. Her chest hurts. After the influence of Amelion, this is normal. It will be difficult at first. The elf apologizes. If he had known that everything would end like this, he would not have asked to get him a candle. During this time, he successfully disassembled the composition of the candle and studied it. It seems that the medicine can still be made. The siren feels genuine happiness. It is so great that she is unable to say a word. Smiling, she still says gratitude. This is the first time I've seen a lady smile like that. It turns out the Duke himself handed over the candle when the beauty lost consciousness. Melfort is sure that if Aegis knew the reason why the girl ended up in the hallucination room, he would never have helped her. The amount on the shelf is the same, but something is unsettling. For the Countess, this is not the most important thing. The maid brings a letter that immediately spoils her mood. Clutching the paper in her hands, she hurries away. Outside the window, conversations are heard that attract attention. Maxion and Karen are arguing about where they will go. An ugly smile freezes on the lips. It's time for the twins to make their contribution. The lady sent a reply letter. The company's trust in her fell in order to raise it. She sends her sons into captivity, the young man. Having read this, laughs. The woman was always crazy. This time she crossed the line. Pien goes out into the corridor, where he is met by one of the ordinary magicians. He wants to give him a chance to distinguish himself. Everyone around is a coward, because of whom the dark forces lose face. An excellent chance has presented itself to show that this is not so. The man decides that they need to kidnap the saint. The blue-eyed man regrets that he decided to listen to the blockhead in order to kill Juliana. A carefully thought-out plan is needed. The Countess's sons are being held in a room with young aristocrats. Magic has been cast on the door, and from the threshold they begin to scream to be let out. But unfortunately, this is impossible. Maxion asks Caron to be quiet and calmly asks why they were locked up. Nothing would change if he knew the reason, which means there is no point in it. He is sure that it is better to know than not to know. Pien came to satisfy his curiosity, and not the other way around. The young man's face seems painfully familiar. He looks like that girl from the auction, dressed as a man. Is he her younger brother, or just has the same features? Many people say that the Melfort family has special blood, and upon hearing this, the younger one remembers his sister, and it is obvious that they are talking about her. Michael was always interested in Serena's blood. He said that she was attractive, At the time, it seemed like trash, and it was abnormal to want something like that. Blue Eyes himself understands that they are talking about Melfort, but Karen, who whispers it out loud, makes everything even clearer. It seems the girl is in danger. The Countess comes to Aegis. She's ashamed to admit it, even to herself, but she misses him. There are bandages with blood on the floor. The owner himself is just coming out of the bathroom. He overdid it a bit during training a few days ago, but there is no one who can hurt him. The only one is Hippron, and it is not yet time for their confrontation. Perhaps the young man was injured by Melfort. The maiden reaches for the wound and offers to examine it. He needs to change clothes, which means the lady will come a little later. The question about the bandages still remains in my head. Judging by the color of the blood on the knife that I found in the hallucination room, it matches the day when Aegis attacked and tried to strangle me. This may be related to the reason why everything went wrong that day. There are not enough clues. Nothing is known for sure. The upcoming banquet is coming soon. The lady has been assembled, and she is incredibly beautiful. She will definitely be the main character at the upcoming event. The elf also thinks that she is not bad, but too thin. The maid asks him not to listen. Aegis is tired of waiting for his companion. It's chilly outside. The sun has set, and the wind has become colder. The Duke meets his beloved's gaze and immediately declares, "I don't want you to go to the banquet." Last year, the young man also had a hard time. The Countess was uselessly beautiful. He would like to stop the passage of time and continue admiring the dress. The girl snorts. This is not the first time she has heard such speeches. She turns around and climbs into the carriage. Turning around, she asks why the gentleman is hesitating. The young man is sad, but still calmly follows her instructions. There is not much time before the banquet. At her very first appearance in society, the lady was surrounded by aristocrats. They complimented her on her dress, asking if it was chosen to match Aegis' suit. Erzea Sylvania intervenes in the conversation. According to the original story, this is Juliana's friend. Because she likes the Duke, she hates Siren. She is angry that the outfit suits the master. Blanche was in charge of the dress design. Most likely, Madame was sure that there was something between them. But without paying due attention to it, the girl decided not to fix it. Ekernia doesn't worry about such trivial things. Only Erzea does. The designer said the finished garment is among the top 5 masterpieces. The arrival of Mr. Michael is announced. After that incident, the lady was worried and sent letters several times because of pain and regret. She regrets that she asked for help. Running up to her brother, she declares that she missed him. This makes her smile. He is fine. Unlike his lazy sister, he diligently trains every day. When it comes to Maxion and Karen, they report terrible news. They are not in the estate. Because the two escaped, they were well prepared. They could not be stopped in time. They only left a note in the room asking that no one try to go looking for her. No more than a week had passed since the escape. Ciri wanted to scream, but the place was not suitable. The guys are definitely well prepared. Michael diligently continues his search. Although it is problematic, the girl does not believe her brother's words at all. Kipron arrived at the banquet as expected. His presence was irresistible, his fine clothes and fine appearance combined. The girl thinks that they are looking at her. She is not mistaken, looking straight at them. The man silently says that he has found her. The lady feels a lump in her throat. She thought that they did not recognize her. To avoid getting involved in anything, the beauty goes to the balcony. She needs to get some fresh air. The night outside is cool. After a while, the heroine is getting ready to return. At the banquet, Saint Juliana. At the next one, she will already be with Hypron. According to the original, he will soon approach her. The story changes. Because Ates meets Siren. The young man invites Melfort to dance. The lady thought about refusing, but decided to agree to test the waters better. Aja stands between them. He does not let go of his beloved's hand. Permission for the first dance has already been received. This is a lie. However, Ciri decides to play along. She says that she really has already promised, but she will agree to the second dance. The music starts playing. The brunette asks in bewilderment why it was necessary to agree while he was nearby. It is better to give up some freedom, because jealousy is too great. Having promised that she would return to him later, the Countess begins to dance. A song with a faster tempo plays. Kipron does not drag out the song at all, declaring that he recently saw someone similar to Melfort. The young man hesitates to say something directly and beats around the bush, watching for reactions. The blonde must remain calm. The method is used out of confidence. Ciri's eye color is beautiful. It cannot be imitated even with magic. The lady is trying to shake her confidence. She is wondering where the knight met that girl. It turns out he was seeing a guy. The lady says that in that case she misunderstood everything, even though the attempts looked awkward. But that day the clothes were men's. It was difficult to see the aristocrat behind everything. The countess remarks that she would not mind meeting this young man. Kipron himself would like them to be able to see each other again. The music ends on time. It is time to return to Ajay's. Quite by chance, the lady becomes a witness to an attempt on Juliana's life. Someone pours something into her glass and runs up to snatch the wine from her hands to prevent it from entering her system. Melfort wants to check something. The believer saw how some poison was added. The magician screams about an unfair accusation. He is ready to drink everything himself and prove it. There is a drug that only works on those with divine power. Juliana should check the contents herself. It really is poison. Again, this is different from the original story, because there, Aetz was supposed to stop the nobleman before he could even get close, but this did not happen due to his interest in Siren. The situation changes dangerously. The aristocrat wastes no time. Realizing that he has been spotted, he takes out a dagger. The countess protects her friend, but she is wounded. Blood gushed from her forearm. The lady is trying to come to her senses, because not everything is over yet. At some point, people in black gathered around. There are too many of them. The maiden frantically tries to remember some kind of magic that can provide protection. Before the red-eyed one can come to her senses, screams are heard. The lady hasn't had time to do anything yet, and everyone in the hoods has been killed. A familiar voice. Siren, why didn't you come back to me and break your promise? Aegis takes a bandage and stops the bleeding on his hand. There are knights in the hall. They will not allow anyone to leave. The story will follow the original plot. All the ringleaders will be sent to prison, and after interrogation, their secrets will be revealed. The brunette bandages the wound too tightly. The saint understands that her friend is suffering because of her and agrees to help with the treatment. The offer is generous. However, divine power does not work on a person from a family with magical powers, because it is diametrically opposed. Aegis is an exception. He was born with magical abilities in a family that previously lacked powers. So in the original, Juliana's abilities solved the problem of brainwashing. The saint should not cry. But for some reason, she can no longer restrain herself. At such moments, she can express gratitude and try to calm down. Melfort hopes that in the future, if she needs help, she can count on her friend. She will definitely repay everything and try her best. One day, the day will indeed come when Juliana will need to repay the debt. She does not yet suspect that she will be asked to help get rid of the influence. His Majesty asks Melfort to receive proper treatment. The brunette lifts her into his arms. The wound is not that serious, but they treat her like a princess and it is awkward. Finally, the lady says goodbye to the saint. I look forward to our next meeting. People from the temple run up to Juliana. They are very ashamed that this happened. The maiden wants to be alone. They assure her that it is not safe. She does not listen, because she is on the edge. After the girl took up her post, everything went wrong. At the banquet, she caused a lot of problems for those around her. She wanted to get closer to Serena, and she herself killed all chances of this. Stopping people from being a nuisance is no easy task. Someone offers a napkin to wipe away tears. Peen hurries to run away when he sees the carriage with Melfort depart. The scarf could simply be thrown away later. A lady doesn't judge by appearance. But the young man didn't look dangerous, but rather harmless. The girl went off all alone. Ajas was supposed to go with her, but right at the exit, the emperor intercepted him. His face was sad when the heroine decided to leave first, uneasy because they had quarreled for the first time. The beauty lost her temper and said a lot of unnecessary things, which she began to regret almost immediately. Words didn't match feelings, Akernia only agreed. He lost, so he doesn't mind if the beauty does, as her heart desires. He hopes that Ciri will never put herself in danger. The heroine is left with nothing but regret. Every time she remembers that this is all because of brainwashing, the warmth and comfort are shattered. The relationship only becomes more unhappy. The lady herself does not notice how she falls asleep. When she opens her eyes, she realizes that they have passed an uphill climb on the way to the Akernia estate. The door is locked. Someone has committed an attack. A magical force is gathering inside. The lady is trying her best to concentrate. With one swing, she knocks down the door despite the force protecting it, pain spreading through her ankle. The carriage is not driven by the coachman. He takes off his hood, comes up, and asks if Melfort missed him. The young man is familiar. His facial expression changes. Ajas is angry that he was torn away from Serena. They wanted to return together. His Majesty called the Duke for a reason. It seems the organization Patius decided to take action. Not much was discovered. They wanted to kidnap the saint and planned to give her a paralyzing poison. They dared to organize an attack at a very important event. The Duke is inclined to believe that this was a willful decision. The Emperor decided to discuss everything with Ajas, and not Kipron, because he began to overshadow His Majesty, his reputation growing terribly quickly. Winning people's hearts by getting rid of Patius isn't such a bad idea. The gentleman won't even have to get his hands dirty. He just needs to be at peace. There's only one thing that needs to be done for the plan to work properly. The organization loves to instill fear in people. It's not hard to imagine that they'll try again. The fanatics have a plan to appear again. When this happens, all that remains is to quietly follow them. Juliana will be sent to the main shelter. She will become an excellent bait, after which she will go out to destroy everything else. Most likely, all the mages have been cast a spell that will take their lives exactly when they start talking. Ajas has a plan. It's better to kill them all, leave only one alive, and then follow him and figure out where he's heading. The cruel smile reminds me of Melfort. Old friends tend to be similar. The siren feels defeated. At first, the stranger's words were confusing, but then she remembered who he was. They saw each other at the auction. She could not imagine that their meeting would happen again. Virgo assesses her chances of winning. She remembers that her skills are, apparently, much better. Pien frightens her with his statements. He wants to get her blood, bones, and skin. Looking at the expression on the aristocrat's face, it is not difficult to guess that she is against giving it up. She will not meekly accept her death, so she creates a sword. It suddenly becomes difficult to breathe. The girl does not understand what has been done to her. The blue-eyed man does not want to harm his doll, so he asks her not to resist. The siren will not remain idle. She is irritated by what is happening. She breaks free from the shackles and jumps back. She just needs to use the remaining magic and victory is in her pocket. First, an explosion is heard. Then a flash illuminates the dark sky. The heart feels tense. A bad feeling lurks inside. The woman thought that she was hit, but it seems that her attacks were deftly dodged. The tree envelops the body. Attempts to get out are futile. They create problems. The wound on the arm has opened again. Blood flows down, and it is disgusting. You can hear Pien's voice. He managed to survive. The magic is quite funny. Although he had to pretend to be dead, it seems he's not much of an actor. Using energy on living beings is strictly prohibited, but thanks to black magic, this has become possible. The maiden clarifies whether the acquaintance is one of those fanatics. He is offended. The man is ranting about how the girl never had any power. She was always created to serve as an adornment. She gets tired of it and suddenly draws her sword, freeing herself. This time, the beauty is confident that she has managed to win. The horses did not have time to run. Her legs were pressed hard. Having moved to a safe distance, the heroine looks at the sky. With the help of lanterns, she finds her way back. The news of the assassination attempt on the saint will be discussed for a long time. The Countess studies the remaining lines of the newspaper. Everything, as usual, is exaggerated to impossible proportions. The pages contain only facts that irrefutably point to the organization Patius. People will be sure that this incident was organized by fanatics. In the evening, while out in the open air, the lady recalled one event, the memory of which always made her smile in difficult times and not lose heart. A year ago, during the founding celebration, Serena and Ajas decided to leave the banquet hall. They thought for a long time about what to do and decided to go boating, as the Lantern Festival was taking place at the time. Then the maiden made a wish, but she doesn't remember which one exactly. She doesn't know if it will be possible to repeat those events again. The heroine remembers how in the evening, when she returned to the estate, Akernia came to her. He saw that she was ill and was ready to call the elf. In the morning, the young man left quickly and did not tell her anything, so the heroine decided to postpone the conversation until the evening, so as not to try to get the truth out of him. The girl is most concerned about the condition of her brothers. She doesn't know what's wrong with them and how, After they disappeared, nothing became known. Michael is angry with his brothers. At first, he thought that they had gotten into trouble again and would soon return. It seems that something serious had happened to them. No matter how hard the young man tried, he couldn't find a single clue. He only wanted one thing: to quickly end the story and return to normal life. The raven that was sent out to scout returns with news. In his beak, he has a handkerchief with blood. This thing belongs to Maxion. Siri gave it to him for his birthday. The embroidery is crooked. In doubt, previously, his brother did not allow anyone to touch the handkerchief. Karan could have thrown it away so as not to panic. The young man decides to first find out who the blood belongs to. Cyrena is on a boat with Ajes. He doesn't quite understand what prompted his beloved to suddenly go for a walk. She didn't tell him anything. There is no specific reason for this. Overall, spending time with the Duke is quite fun, but it is disappointing that such calm and joyful days will not last forever. The girl asks if they managed to find out who attacked her. Ajes let it slip that he was going to find him and kill him. There was no point in playing dumb, since everything had long been known. The brunette doesn't see anything wrong with his threats. Someone brazenly dared to touch his beloved and even tried to kill her. Everyone involved deserves death. Unable to contain herself, the beauty breaks out into a smile. The Duke is still just as sweet to her. The time has come to release the lanterns. The man wishes for Siri to marry him and have children. The maiden wishes for the medicine to be made as soon as possible, after which the lady wonders why some wishes deserve to be fulfilled, while others do not. Fortunately, or unfortunately, Serena's request was fulfilled first. After returning to the mansion, she saw a letter from her brother. Eichelt bursts into the office. He was in a great hurry, all in order to report the successful creation of the medicine. His ears began to ring. Obviously, the end was very near. It's a joyful event, but it's not so easy to rejoice. There's no reason behind it. The woman forces herself to smile. It's time to move on to the final stage. The elf was not blessed with a happy childhood. His sister wanted to leave. She had an important meeting that she did not plan to miss. She was going to the prince. The boy tried to reason with the girl and stop her from meeting her, because the future emperor did not love her and was only using her. The young man noticed a forbidden book in his hands, and there were even more reasons to worry. She refused to give the scripture back. The elf assured that she had not stolen anything, but had only decided to take it for a while and read, after which she would definitely put everything back in its place. Until the very end, not wanting to listen to her brother, who began to try to snatch the book, the woman left. That day became the last time they saw each other. The nightmare repeats itself over and over again. The young man can't sleep because of it. Elves have a longer life than humans. What happened long ago for humans, for them? Recently, Karen screams. His brother keeps trying to explain that it's useless. He's tired of listening to things that only drive them into a deeper hole. All hope remains on Michael. A clue has been left for him. He is also unbearable. But at least he is not stupid. He will be able to find the scarf. But it is unknown when exactly. The brunette continues to try to break free, and surprisingly, he finally manages to break the chains. It's physically impossible, but he somehow managed it. Everything in Genius is simple. They were lucky. Maxion is not feeling his best. He is sweating. It seems that it is hot in the dungeon, although it is cool in the basement. The young man didn't notice right away, but even the water had frozen over. It couldn't be that hot in the room. Trying to ignore it, the hero suggested they go. There is a long corridor outside. Luckily, there are no guards at all. If the magicians suddenly find out about the escape, they will immediately set off in pursuit. After a few minutes of running forward, Maxion becomes really ill. He breathes heavily and falls to his knees. No longer able to move further, his head is splitting and his body has become really heavy. The man consciously says that he can't go any further. He asks to go without him. Karan shakes his brother by the shoulders and asks him not to scare him like that. Melfort will be perfectly fine even if he is caught. Nothing will be done. They will simply increase security. It is better to be caught than to be a burden. The brother refuses to run away alone, as always. He is stubborn at the most inopportune moments. The young man asks why. When he was about to run away from home, Karan decided to follow him. He did it without any particular reason. Maxion knew why he was running away. He didn't want to be caught. He won't say more, because screams were heard from around the corner. The magicians realized that the twins had escaped. Without thinking twice, Karen puts his brother on his back. He would never abandon him. He is not smart, but he is very physically developed. Despite everything, he is also human, and his strength quickly runs out. Capture is a matter of time. Moving forward for long will not be possible due to too much weight. Realizing that they are driven into a corner, Melfort climbs onto the railing. Magicians gather around, but he will not give up. So as not to fall into the hands of the villains, the brunette decides to jump down, straight into the abyss. From the very morning, Serena took the elf with her and went to Ajay's, her head ready to explode from an overabundance of thoughts that were difficult to sort out. Previously, the lady imagined what a happy day it would be when she would finally succeed in creating a cure. However, Serena feels incredibly devastated. It seems that the Duke himself is not particularly happy. The girl is lying to him when she says that she is very happy, in which case the young man will have to agree with this opinion. Before trying to take anything, Virgo wants to explain in more detail when exactly to take the pills and talk about the side effects. The elf interrupts. He wanted to tell you something important. Last time, during the examination, he noticed that Ekernia's health was completely unstable. He had reached the stage where people could go crazy. It all depends on the body's capabilities. If it copes well with toxins, just in case, the Countess decided to prepare a sleeping pill that she would have to take. One book says that it's usually very difficult to remove a maleon from the body. When intoxicated, a person often experiences headaches and nothing can help. Pain is only part of the problem. Hallucinations may occur. They are so realistic that it is difficult to distinguish from reality. Sleeping pills are necessary to prevent them. The medicine must be taken once a day before bed. Eekelt asks for blood to be taken for testing. Aes's gaze remains cold until the very end, although he listens attentively. Night came unnoticed. Under supervision, the young man takes the medicine. When he wakes up, everything will be completely fine. The side effects last for 4 hours. As soon as the door closes, the man spits out the pill. He is glad that the sleeping pill was separated from the antidote. It is time to go. The gentleman ends up at Melfort's, stepping into her office. He asks why it was necessary to call him. She smiles in response. 3 years ago, Aegis left the estate, but he was still unable to free himself from the shackles of the Duchess, who, in secret from Ciri, summoned him to her. And during her next attempts to conduct experiments on him, something strange happened. My daughter has been receiving tons of letters with marriage proposals for a long time now. Perhaps it's time for her to marry off. There are many respected candidates. The best way to strengthen the family line is with a profitable marriage. The Duke does not want to stand aside and do nothing. However, he is just a brainwashed dog. He is incapable of anything. The only reason for his powerlessness is love. When little Ajaz first came to the estate, he had no one to be friends with. The lady knew this, and so she made Ciri an important person to him. The young man should not forget his place. The woman informs him that an engagement meeting is scheduled for next week. It will be postponed if he drinks from the bottle. There may be poison. You will have to drink it anyway. After that, the man coughs. He goes back to the estate. Siren looks very peaceful. In exchange for calling off the engagement, the young man had to give more. He promised to transfer ownership of the largest mine of his family. That was enough. His head is splitting. His whole body is aching. Aegis hears his beloved's voice. A whole hour has passed since he took the medicine. Hallucinations are starting, and it's impossible to ignore the girl. The red-eyed one climbs with a kiss, stepping back. The lady takes out a sword. She asks if they hate her. This is not true. Love is strong. In the morning, first thing, the heroine goes to read the letter. She was so busy with the medicine that she completely forgot about it. There are only a few words inside. This does not look like Michael. There is a strange smell coming from the paper. Perhaps this is just a sick sentence. Eichelt enters the room. He never knocks. Handing over the scissors, the blonde asks for a haircut. This isn't the first time he's had his hair cut, although he's only had long hair before. The scent of lemon and the sweet smell of the letter fills the room. Ciri is asked to hold the paper to the candle. She reproaches herself for not thinking of this. More lines appear on the sheet of paper. Michael writes that it seems to him that the twins were kidnapped. They didn't just run away. Their mother intercepted the previous letter for a reason. Brother calls for a meeting at 7 p.m. on Thursday on Mentori Boulevard at the Fountain. He will be there every Thursday. If what is written is true, the heroine was careless, and she needs to start searching. Eaglet is told that everything is fine. He doesn't really believe it, because when people see ordinary letters, they don't make such a gloomy expression on their faces. To change the subject, the beauty is going to help him get a haircut. The girl claims that she knows how to do haircuts. Although this is an obvious lie, the elf decides to trust her, although he doubts until the very end. After just a few dozen minutes, the green-eyed man is transformed. He barely dared to cut his hair, and before leaving, he says, "Thank you." Time flew by unnoticed. Aegis, probably not changing his habits, was waiting in the dining room. What a surprise when, having gone down, the Countess saw an empty room. The maid reports that the master is still asleep. Unlike his beloved, he is an early bird, and he has never missed a meeting, always arriving first. The master said that he would cut off the head if anyone entered his chambers. The servant tried to dissuade him, but hearing nothing, the mistress rushed into the room. The red-eyed one thinks only about how urgently she needs to get to her destination. Overcoming her doubts, the heroine opens the door and meets his gaze. Usually they always had lunch together, but something went wrong. Aegis responds to this. His voice is just as gentle. This is not something to be happy about, but the girl can't help herself. The brunette hugs his beloved and asks why she no longer calls him as sweetly as she did all last night. He promises that he will eat later. Because he is too tired, he draws an invisible line. The maid reports to Melfort that she has not noticed any activity. Her daughter is not doing anything, just following instructions. Before leaving, she was constantly reading. Ciri is far from a gift. She can do anything behind your back. Last time she did something stupid and got punished. That's exactly how it should be. The mother is not so strict with the girl. She makes allowances for her. Marina is sent to keep an eye on Michael. She hopes that she will not be able to find anything. Almost the whole day later, the lady decides to go and visit Aegis. He left on business. He promised to return in the evening. The maid conveyed these words. When the noise was heard, the heroine immediately jumped out of bed. She rushed headlong to the young man. He was drunk. They took him into the room. There was no point in asking questions. The woman waits for dawn to ask about what happened. Akarnaya did not come to the dining room, after which she sought meetings several times and tried to contact him. Every day, the gentleman got up before dawn and left. He returned late, so it was not possible to meet. This continued for a whole week. The medicine was passed on through servants. The heroine feels lost. Unknown feelings rage within her. Once they almost managed to talk, only Aegis slipped away. Virgo is getting ready for a meeting. Her face is gloomy. Although she likes the outfit and jewelry, it's time to go to Mentori Boulevard. Her brother is sitting there. The newspaper headlines are still full of news about Pacius. Sitting down, the heroine begins to ask about the kidnapping of the twins. She is almost 100% sure that this is not just an escape from the estate. A handkerchief falls into their hands. There are bloodstains on it. Ciri is asked not to invent anything unnecessary. Thanks to the thing, it will be possible to determine the exact location. Crows circle overhead. These are experimental birds. They have a good sense of the scent of blood. With their help, it's worth trying to find the scoundrels. Brother called his sister for a reason. Lately, they have not listened to him at all. Only by using force, they will be pacified a little. The blood of the siren is needed. Nothing worked with Michael's blood since he doesn't have enough mana. The girl agrees. She is ready to do anything, only if it helps find the twins and bring them home. The young man always knew that he could count on his sister. Together, they would definitely be able to achieve justice. The heroine nods. A familiar head can be seen in the distance. Pupils dilate in surprise. Aegis is with some stranger, he lied, saying that the emperor urgently needed him. Leaning closer to Serena, Michael reminds her that the world is big and there are plenty of different men in it for her to choose from. Fists clench on their own to ask all the questions. The heroine will wait at the closed door. She will ask everything directly and find out the details. The Duke was tired. His consciousness was constantly clouded. Countess Melfort suddenly decided to keep an eye on the subject. She assigned her subordinate to him. Previously, the hero was always happy when he was around Ciri, but ever since he started taking the medicine, his happiness has disappeared. The man couldn't refuse to take the pills. He didn't want to upset her. The side effects appeared after 1 to 2 hours and lasted for 4 hours. That's what the elf said. But that's not true. Every time he talked to Siren, her double simply mocked him. Because of this, he could not be with her, constantly avoided her. The countess constantly asked why Ajas was going to kill her, told him that she loved him very much, but received nothing in return. She felt betrayed. Akernia is reminded that he was going to kill his beloved. She forced him to remember that moment, otherwise Siren was going to finish him off. The man is in pain. More and more thoughts are in his head. They make his mind become even more clouded. The girl understands that she has no choice but to really kill him. Her throat was dry. The countess got up to drink some water. She met Eichelt in the kitchen. There was no one. Everyone was asleep. So he decided to go down himself, all for the sake of hiding his essence. He lives like a ghost and avoids any contact with a person. The lady is grateful that he listens and keeps a low profile. A strange request. The young man asks to collect for him all the newspapers mentioning the imperial family over several decades. The reason for this impulse is clear. The man wants to know about the incident that caused the elves and the imperial family to break off all ties 30 years ago. The maiden killed by the prince is his own sister. The girl nods. She will try to get more issues. She walks down the corridor. There is silence around. She thought that Ajas had been asleep for a long time, but suddenly her gaze catches his figure. Apparently, he didn't take the sleeping pill. The only relief is that the puzzle has finally come together. The Duke is experiencing the side effects and seeing hallucinations. Even in the morning, Ciri thinks about it. She doesn't listen to her brother at all, who has been going on about his plan all this time. He brought the ravens into a magic circle. He needed the lady's blood. Without thinking twice, she cuts herself. The blonde asks her to be careful. Her skin is delicate. The birds start screaming louder than ever, and after a few seconds, they fall to the floor. Everything worked, and the blonde is still waiting for them to move on to the next stage. The countess begins to say that she needs something. Michael snorts. He knows in advance that he shouldn't listen to his sister. Trouble always arises because of her. There is only one way out. The girl plays on pity. The brother immediately changes his mind. He is as simple as 3 kopecks. All that remains is to bribe him. The young man has a device that can track teleportation trails, and the screams begin. He won't give up his invention so easily. The offer of 50% of the mines is acceptable, and the deal is made. In the evening, Aegis leaves the estate. It's as if he's talking to a ghost, but the heroine still can't understand who he's talking to. Teleportation occurs. Only one attempt remains. Magical assistance can only be used once. The eye appears on the ground. It will follow Akernia. Soon the lady finds herself in a place where violence and lawlessness reign, seasoned with a strong smell of fumes. The whole rabble gathers in the alley. The trail leads to some house, straight to the 2nd floor. Aegis is somewhere nearby, turning off the aggressive owner. With a quiet step, Siren rises up. He is really in the room. That same girl is nearby. There are several more people with them. One of the servants is distracted and killed on the spot. The atmosphere changes before the others have time to understand what is happening. A brutal massacre begins. Having noticed the stranger in advance, Aegis staged this whole performance, however. He never expected that under the hood was Siren, who wanted to know what was going on. The girl with red hair rushes towards the blonde. From her appearance, she understands that in front of her is Melfort's daughter. She introduces herself as Zelda. I work under your mother. Something's not working out. Such a person was assigned to the Duke for a reason. The assistant is asked to leave them alone. A difficult conversation is ahead. Aegis can't tell what he forgot in such a place. Serena decides to press on the weak spot. It's her last chance to stay next to her. A man doesn't want to be abandoned. If he cheats again, it will all end once and for all. They will no longer have a relationship. Tears stream down her cheeks, and she begins to scream. Siren repeats that she needs to get to the truth, and the brunette admits that he was wrong. Having made a mistake, Aegis is ready to tell everything. Melfort does not want to do this. However, she has no other choice. The man revealed that all this time the Countess was using him. The woman was a member of a guild until they started stealing from her. She decided to take action. Aegis has not taken sleeping pills since the first day. On the very first night, the Countess summoned him to her. They talked about the engagement and made a deal. Without bothering to inform their daughter about it, the puzzle comes together. On the day the lady was almost strangled, the young man was also at the Melfort estate, and the maiden knew nothing. She always thought that their relationship was built on strong attachment. Everything she thought was true turned out to be a fantasy. Not wanting to hide anything, the Duke cannot tell the truth. Some days his consciousness was clouded. He is not lying. The interrogation is over. After going down to the first floor, the two meet Zelda. They leave as quickly as possible. It is better to ignore her words. The boy is getting worse. His body is completely weak. He has been suffering from the first day. Siri is trying to help him understand where reality is and where a stupid illusion is. She shouldn't have promised freedom from the spell. Being a bird in a cage, Aegis was at least happy, creating a blade. He points it at his forehead. The young man sees a hallucination, where his beloved dies every time. Attempts to calm her down end in success. The blade comes down, I was wrong. Pian screams, he is in pain because of the wounds that are being treated. The conversation turns to the thing that the young man brought with him from the battle. It didn't happen by chance. Blue Eyes had a great time, but was still careless. On his way through the forest, he came across a leaf with blood on it. It attracted him, but no analysis was carried out. Raquel, who had saved his friend, was confused, but he nevertheless decided to conduct an examination, which he was now being asked about with eyes full of interest. The blood is about the same as what Pian was looking for. It is rare. The servant disturbs the idyll. The hostages sent from Melfort escaped. The magicians failed and did not catch them. They made their way into the first forbidden zone. A catastrophe is almost at hand. They will not allow this under any circumstances. Rushing to the door, Raquel asks her friend not to go anywhere. According to the terms of the agreement, the hostages cannot be hurt. There is no way out. The Countess must understand. The twins fell from a not very high height. Despite this, Maxion lost consciousness. In front of them, there's a huge tree. The place is creepy. Trying to hide, Karen completely forgot that they were looking for an exit. He used magic, avoiding a collision. They ended up in an unknown area. A man appears ahead. He is stronger than those who have already tried to catch them. Since the brother is not able to, they will fight for him. Serena opens her eyes, uncomfortably. She doesn't have time to ask a question. Aegis is nearby, and their hands are tied. The young man himself looks with an innocent look, as if it's not his fault. The blonde is a little polite and makes him explain why she woke up tied up. It turns out she asked for it herself. While trying to calm the guy down, the girl got hurt. They carried her home, and while half asleep, she asked him to prove that they would never leave her. He didn't go anywhere at night. The girl doesn't even want to think about how the guy came up with such a brilliant idea. She orders him to untie her. Holding her closer, the brunette asks to stay close a little longer. Serena is unlikely to be bored if she spends her whole life with him. It sounds like a proposal, but the beauty denies it to the last and repeats again that she needs to be untied. Ajezu likes it when people worry about him. Having never experienced affection and care from other people, the guy tries to explain what hallucinations he had, but fails and runs away. When deciding to wash his face, the hero discovers spots on himself. He doesn't have to guess about their origin. These are the consequences of poisoning. Every time he takes the medicine, his body turns inside out. He is ready to endure it, just for the sake of Serena. However, the situation has become more complicated. Having seen the fake, he flared up and stopped thinking rationally. He didn't have time to remove Zelda, and she would report everything to the Countess. Nothing could be fixed. The girl would not know the truth about the deal. The heroine doesn't know if she's doing the right thing by sending a letter to her mother. She knows that news will reach her anyway and decides to be the one to tell her first. On paper, the words show all the naivety and innocence of the beauty. From the very beginning, the Countess sent her daughter to watch the Duke. It was better to do so because there were no more activities. The lady will not consult with Ajes because he is always running away from her. Lita is asked to pass him a note, but only in the evening. The maid says that she has prepared everything that she was asked for last time. She needs to hurry. The newspapers he had asked for earlier are being delivered to Elf. The latest issues were the first to be obtained, but the rest will take longer. The girl's arm is wounded, but she brushes it off. She asks a question about Aegis. He constantly sees hallucinations. He doesn't take sleeping pills. He has never taken them. He doesn't see them after taking the medicine, but can see them at any time. Everything turned out much worse. Julia. Eekelt had only studied this area superficially. He might have simply not noticed some other side effects, or the Duke might have gone mad. If something is wrong with him, then nothing can be changed. The good news is that he has a strong will, since he was able to hold out for so long. The green-eyed man is confident, that if they manage to free their consciousness from brainwashing, everything will be more or less fine. Having removed the spell, they will all move on to a normal life. There is a medicinal herb that can ease suffering. Ekult drew it, but nothing can be made out. The maiden asks him to go with her and help her recognize it and buy it correctly. Mother mustn't find out about the elf. However, one walk won't do any harm. He'll be disguised, and it won't be possible to sit in the estate all the time anyway. The man is definitely not recognized in the form in which he is dressed. The woman definitely likes the way everything is going. Everything is fine until the moment when Ajas bursts in. The lady sent a note that she was going to meet some noble suitor. The heroine wanted to have a good time before leaving. It was not too late to put on a show. Remaining calm, the blonde declares that sooner or later, she will have to get married, deciding not to delay for long. Soon, the beauty explains that it was a joke. Aegis doesn't believe it. He is determined not to let the countess go anywhere. He and Ekult must go buy medicinal herbs. Dressed like a gray mouse, Ciri doesn't even imagine that she will go on a meeting with someone, but the man still believes her. He thought that he would soon lose his beloved. For several days, Aegis has been running since early morning, so it is also his fault that they are making fun of him. The stupid performance turned out to be quite effective. The Duke asks not to joke like that anymore. If he didn't believe me, he would have locked me in the estate. It's time to leave. It's too late to go. It's not an option. In front of the door, Ajas grabs his hand. He once again clarifies whether this is really not a meeting with the groom. In response, they offer him to go together. The girl, without wanting to, got involved in a new adventure. All three of them went into the carriage. The atmosphere was tense, even too tense. Akernia, as if nothing had happened, sat down next to his beloved. Ekult sat opposite her. He looked only out the window, and the two ignored each other. The cart stops, and even without looking at the sign, it's easy to guess what kind of shop it is. The scent of medicinal herbs can be smelled from afar. The seller, seeing the drawing, snorts. He asks if the buyers can afford the high price. In the corner lies a bag with all the necessary ingredients. The herbs in the bag are rotting and are no longer of the best quality, taking Ciri by the hand. The elf leads her away. They will not buy anything. Ajas is angry. It is written on his forehead what he thinks. Virgo frantically tries to think of something, until he moves from thoughts to actions. He is asked to buy dessert. The distant shop is famous for its incomparable delicacies. Melfort is about to go to the next shop. She is out of luck. She hears the princess's voice behind her. She appeared as if out of nowhere. Without further ado, the countess explains that she came to do some shopping. Ekult turned pale and was dressed as a servant, the woman thought. The subordinate was poorly taught politeness. When he sees a member of the imperial family, he does not greet her, and the lady apologizes. The man remains silent. The princess is disappointed that she is being directly ignored. Even Ciri cannot save this situation. A royal tries to teach a boy manners, but she is refused. So it turns out they want to charge her with insult. As the mistress, the blonde asks for forgiveness. She trained him poorly, and it is she who is punishing him. Chuckling, the mistress makes an unexpected offer. "Will you sell him to me?" In the original, the princess was famous for being partial to everything beautiful. She loved everything charming. There is no one normal in their family. The boy is being protected. The servant belongs to her family. The request is an insult to the Melfort family. The lady hates the last name, but decides to use it. Besides, he is not a slave. You can't control life. The girl apologizes, but you can see in her eyes that she still wants to get the exhibit. Due to the bad character of a member of the imperial family, an incident occurred in which she ordered the murder of her own father and ascended the throne. Ekult hates the ruling family. To his surprise, the girl agrees. Finally, they find the right shop. They buy everything they need. Aegis is hurrying towards them. He bought some cakes. The girl would be happy if it all ended there, but he decided to surprise her, so that the lady could come and have a treat at any time. The Duke acquired a small shop. It was decided to keep it, and then, once the spell wears off, return it back. In the evening, the Countess nevertheless decided to show the letter to the Countess. It seemed to her that it would be better to check the sequence of events. The young man has a pained expression on his face. He feels guilty, because if he were in his right mind, he wouldn't have had to come up with anything. Aegis regrets that he was found that day. Then he wouldn't have been hated so much. In the future, he shouldn't hide anything. This is the only way. The letter has been checked. It is time to return to the questions that have not been answered. The Duke is obliged to tell everything without concealment. When the man was about to kill Siren, he was engaged in slave trade and at the same time venting his anger. He was summoned by Melfort, who must be obeyed. As a child, the young man hated the specific smell that emanated from the hallucination room. He got used to it, as if he had stopped noticing it altogether. Each time the woman played on feelings, one order, and the girl would be returned to the estate. Before that she was hidden. Those days were the worst. The man could do nothing but fall at her feet and beg for his savior to be returned. Melfort gave him medicine and ordered him to take it. There was God knows what in the bottle, and before he could even drink it, the Duke felt terrible. Everything was swimming before his eyes. He didn't understand how. But the lady ended up with a sword in her hands. It was covered in blood. Aegis came to his senses and was allowed to leave. Returning to the estate, the young man saw Siren. She whispered that the elf had woken up. It seemed to him that the maiden looked cute. After the story, the beauty was left confused. Experiments were conducted on him that no one knew about, and this needs to be sorted out. It turns out that from the moment everything happened and he was about to destroy his beloved, he was not himself. Everything was confused. The young man fell asleep. He slept the whole night. The lady longed to satisfy her curiosity and drove herself deeper into a dead end. The newspapers that Eichelt asked for were found after some time. There was a hope in my heart that he wouldn't read them. It would probably hurt him. Hiding the publications was not an option. Sooner or later, they would be discovered. News about a mage organization is surfacing, claiming it wasn't them who staged the riot at the banquet, but someone else. This is far from the truth, and the article is written to lull people into a false sense of security. Esten is coming soon, the holiday dedicated to the birth of God. A magnificent festival is planned, better than last year. Eichelt sees the same nightmare again, he cries. They wanted to clear his memory, although under the guise of this, they simply wanted to burn him alive. The leader felt sorry for the guy. He didn't want to do that to him, even if he promised that it wouldn't happen again. It didn't change anything. Memory erasure is not such a terrible procedure. The elf is disgusted by the disgusting sight, and he continues to see the same thing over and over again. Gradually, the man goes crazy. Every time he wants to wake up and run away, he doesn't even know from what moment he began to see his past. It is unbearable to remain locked in his own mind. The young man again feels despair. But suddenly, he is awakened by a familiar voice. His whole body is in sweat. In front of him is Siren, who asks for forgiveness for the visit. She managed to come to the rescue in time and offered to call a doctor. The woman didn't come just like that. She found the newspaper she was asked for. The prince killed the elf, accusing the speakers of unthinkable crimes. Just by looking at the beauty's face, Eichelt understands that they sympathize with him, but do not dare to say anything. They leave him alone to get some proper rest. The desire to ask to stay remains unspoken. He feels pathetic, and all that remains is to once again immerse himself in studying the newspapers. A forbidden book is in the torment of a man who became an emperor with its help. A sister's life was taken by a ruler. A brother would like to ask if a girl would love a man after everything he did. Even more, he wants to ask if he can take revenge. What happened changed history forever, all because of someone's immense desire to seize the throne. Aegis's morning doesn't start out very pleasantly. He's summoned by the emperor. One of the organization's mages was left alive, and he simply disappeared. By the time he disappeared, he had almost no mana left. In a fit of anger, the gentleman throws a vase. A trickle of blood runs down his face. Every time he loses his mind, he becomes cruel, especially in the presence of the Duke. The ruler helped the young man for a long time. He tried to support him by any means and methods available to him. At that time, he needed a man who could do all the dirty work. Akernia took an honorary position. It was naively assumed that he would be taken under control. The man hopes that Aegis will help him figure out the whereabouts of the magician. There is a bell tower near the estate, and rumor has it that he disappeared there. A plan is forming in my head. I'll need bait. His Majesty is asking for a high-quality necklace. Everything will go well, just in case. It's worth examining the tower. That magician will join in anyway. He will have no choice. Aegis plans to do the washing. With the Emperor's permission, he leaves the hall. The poison flushing method can be used many times. It is possible even without candles. That person is a weak link. The weak are easily subdued by sophisticated torture. In the future, the Duke will be able to keep him on a leash, like a dog. He instills in him that he must obey and follow all orders. The magicians are surprised that the young man survived and returned. The consequences of such an act could be fraught with problems, but the man assures that he will be able to atone for his guilt, since he is on the trail of the woman he is interested in. He promises that he will bring the divine Juliana. The plan will change. Aegis threatens that disobedience is equal to having teeth pulled out. For every mistake, he will lose one tooth. The magic circle is burning again after the demons escaped, causing complete chaos, and the Melfort children who were trapped there are responsible. The woman doesn't want to listen to anything, because it was Raquel's fault that the guys left the room. The man declares that it is true, he agrees, and falls to his knees. The Countess did not come to punish. However, if the magic circle is destroyed, it will lead to serious consequences. One more mistake, and everything will end. They distracted me from the conversation with a message. The Emperor arrived unexpectedly. He was shown into the living room. Marina did a good job. The man continues to think that they have a good relationship, since childhood Melfort tried to get closer. So she tried to build a close relationship with him. Everyone thinks that they are friends. However, the girl hates him. Entering the room, he asks what the purpose of the visit was. If he had informed her in advance, the lady would have been better prepared for the visit. Despite the stupid expression on the Emperor's face, he is not that stupid, although he constantly does stupid things when he is with the Countess. The man came to tell good news, that the members of Pacius will probably not be found anytime soon. The lady freezes and asks again. Michael, as usual, sent a short letter. The brothers have not yet been found, but a clue has appeared. The girl will go looking for Eekelt again. Last time he turned pale, as if something had happened. The woman knocks on the door without waiting for an answer. She goes inside. He sits under the blanket and immediately asks him to leave. Leaving a friend alone would be wrong. The young man resignedly asks to ask a question. If we cure the Duke, he will stop loving you, right? Virgo has always known about this and knows that she can survive the turning point. She wants to end this story, doing it as soon as possible. The heroine has no further plans of action. She just goes with the flow. In the past, she already tried to do something about this, but it took time to understand that there was no point in trying. Serena doesn't care, even if her mother puts a knife to her neck. Eekelt takes off the blanket. He cries, "It's time to ask questions. What's wrong with you?" The young man had a nightmare. He wanted to help. There was no particular reason for this. In the dream, he saw a person he missed. He will never see his sister again. She passed away. After meeting her, he had a dream where his body was engulfed in fire. Lately, it has been happening more and more often. He said too much, so he asks not to worry anymore, because he will figure everything out himself. The girl wants to help, not only because she is afraid of interfering with the treatment. Relationships between people are complicated. The Virgo wants to buy some time and suggests going for a walk. Just the two of them. They will discuss everything. Maxian sings a song, kills children. One was drowned. The second was burned. The third was buried under stones in a cave. The fourth suffered a worse fate. Karan is slowly going crazy. Before he ran away with his brother, everything was fine. But after that, he went crazy, and the magic is to blame for this, which is much stronger than the previous one. Only if the young man comes to his senses will they be able to escape. The brunette thinks about what happened to Serena. Perhaps her mother has already reached her. There are too many questions in his head. Karan doesn't want to sit idle. A blade falls out of his pocket. Pian put it down, saying that it is a key. The tip can't even cut a chain. Serena and Eekelt went to the theater, where there was an old children's song that told about the war with the Dark Witch. Everyone in the Empire knows about it. The children, about whom the song is sung, are the owners of black magic. They were destroyed. Listening to the play, the lady remembers the twins. The theater was enough to make Eekelt feel better. A ballet show would be much better than an ordinary performance. What's happening is still a little depressing. The Dark Witch was a terrible person, although she was the only one who sympathized with the children. The play carries a clear message that if the Dark Witches refuse to do what the Imperials do, they will remain unhappy for the rest of their lives. The heroine is going to get some sleep and asks to be woken up after the show. She thought it would be interesting and was wrong. In the dream, the maiden is burning. The Duke is strangling her, opening her eyes. She sees that the theater is burning. Eekelt does not hear her at all. He stands and looks forward. The man mutters something. He rushes forward, grabbing the guy. The girl accidentally falls. She can't lose him. Coming to his senses, but not completely, the young man asks how to get rid of brainwashing, if it is impossible to completely wash the brain. They go out to talk outside. Earlier, Eekelt told about his sister. She stole a forbidden book. The emperor ordered her to do so. The story of the elf's murder is never told. Everyone knows by default that the elf had seen the book before, but his memory was erased. Green-Eyed thought he would be killed. The fire was special and simply erased his memories. In the theater, everything came back. The publication talked about brainwashing. Among the ingredients used to make scented candles, there are many that are known only to another race. People did not discover this by mere coincidence. Melfort knew about a Malian. Serena puts two and two together in her head. It could be that her mother is close to the emperor. Sebastian. He receives a letter from the countess. There is very little time left until the end of the damned relationship. The lady decided to share the emperor's plans. She thought that this was an excellent opportunity to weaken the power of the black magicians. She had previously been informed of Michael's actions. He had participated in a slave auction and wanted to buy an elf. It was believed that the valuable exhibit had perished in a fire. Her son would continue to be monitored, and Serena was to return home. Astor's brainwashing method from the Forbidden Book was used on Aegis. Melfort knew this for a reason. Virgo is waiting to see a doctor, but she doesn't need one. She wasn't seriously hurt. Many died in the fire. Someone started the fire while drunk. Eekelt himself got rid of the rare brainwashing. It's difficult. The Forbidden Book implants targets in a Malian's body. The purpose of the formula is to control the subject's soul. Even when brainwashed with aromatic candles, the mind is forced to resist. For some time, the elf thought about why Aegis survived everything. At first, the formula seemed to maintain a mental state. A person who is gradually brainwashed cannot control the soul. Even if a Malian were detoxified for as long as it was active, nothing would change. The formula must be destroyed. Red-Eyed is confused. She has Juliana. They are not very close, however. She trembled for salvation at the party. The siren is afraid that after helping the saint, she will have to kill her. Eekelt forces her to return to reality. He knows where the magic formula is. Brainwashing is a combination of medicine and black magic. Wizards use it too, which means everything is in their lair. It's time to find out where this place is. The girl is getting more and more lost in her thoughts. Melfort obviously wanted Aegis to continue the family tree. But is that true? In the original, the story is told from Juliana's perspective. Perhaps she misunderstood the Countess and took it for the truth. The blonde suggests the elf look for Juliana and beg for help, but he stuns her by saying that holy power won't help rid her of the poison's influence. Everything the young lady believed in is shattered by reality. She doesn't know what to do next. The heroine relied too much on her knowledge from the book. Feelings of helplessness are overwhelming. Eekelt hugs to calm down. The day continues to fall apart because Ajes appears. What are you doing? There is no strength left to resolve the situation. Getting up, the girl declares that she does not care what he thinks. Ciri will find a way to solve the problem. Returning to the mansion, the heroine became completely immersed in work. Juliana had detoxified, and by that time, the formula had been destroyed. Akernia is nearby and asks again about the moment with the elf. He is tired of worrying about such trifles. It is difficult for him. The brunette asks to take more care of him. There is no answer. Lita came with a letter. The lady goes to read it. The pupils dilate as soon as the paper falls into her hands. The mother orders her daughter to return back. Maxian feels like his soul is floating in the air. The song about children is not funny, but for some reason, the smile still doesn't leave his face. Someone asks him to stop. The young man doesn't care. The smell reaches his receptors. There is a pool of blood on the floor. Karan lies unconscious. A feeling of guilt appears inside. When he left the house, there was no need to drag him along. His leg was bleeding. It turns out that his brother tried to make a small gap with a knife. Something went wrong. They'll need urgent help. Last time they decided to escape, the mages acted as if the boys shouldn't get hurt. Maxian is asked to answer one question about why he ran away to avoid being killed. His father did not die because of the fire. He was murdered. Unlike his mother, his father was caring and loving. The boy followed him everywhere. And on that fateful day, he also went. The Countess finished off the man. Her only regret was that she had not done it earlier, but he was needed to bear children who would become victims. It seemed that the boy was noticed. After what happened, everything around was engulfed in flames. The lady stood and smiled. Karen listens and gets up from his seat, almost immediately falls to the floor, but reaches the shackles. He tries to break them with force. His brother shouts at him to stop. It is dangerous to cast spells in a bad state. They don't listen to him. Unlike him, Maxion is smart. He must escape. He refuses. I will not leave you. Siren recalls details from the original. The main villain was not interested in anything except Ajas. For some reason, she was pursuing the saint. Everything falls into place. She made some kind of mistake, which led to the destruction of the magic circle. A crack appeared in it. Ciri, in the original story, knew about the existence of the magic circle. She found this information from somewhere. Ajas, sitting next to her, brings her thoughts back to reality. She explains that she was thinking about a book. The carriage arrived, and for the last time, the young man asks if he can't go. Serena will send letters. This is not okay. Every time he has promised letters and nothing ever comes. Don't leave, stay with me. Before leaving the carriage, the girl says that the only way to stay together is to kill the Countess, which is impossible while the flush is still in effect. It's hard to believe the girl is home again. She feels strange. Aegis has been forgetting his loyalty lately, and a dog that is not loyal to its owner will sooner or later sink its fangs in. The woman asks what to do to prevent this from happening. This is a test. The dog is important. In this case, it can be tamed if it barks, hit with a whip. If all else fails, the only option left is to kill. It is better to get rid of the one who bit the owner, no matter how special it is. Nothing in the world lasts forever. The lady asks how long, in her daughter's opinion, the brainwashing will last, and whether the young man will be so obedient when it is all over. The real test is just beginning. Perhaps Ciri's intentions have been revealed. The girl claims that she can kill Aegis. She has to lie. Time flies slowly. Michael waited for the library to become free. He wanted to read, and at the same time, he passed on a letter. The densely written sheets speak of only one thing. Aegis misses his beloved. The volume resembles a poem. The girl needs to know something else. There's been no news from Karen and Maxion. They'll definitely be found, and it's becoming harder and harder to believe that with each passing day. At such a moment, Ciri cannot give up. She goes to the twins' room. Someone's diary is lying on the table. Maxion's pages are eye-catching. He writes about how unbearable it is to know the truth. He needed to escape to no longer experience fear. Ciri doesn't understand anything. She hurries to tell Michael. He is in the room with the raven. His face expresses concern. The man assures that nothing happened, which is hard to believe, judging by the diary. Karen simply followed his brother, and perhaps they were kidnapped after that. Melfort Sr. continues to insist that the raven didn't tell him anything. He's clearly keeping something quiet and leaves. I have things to do. Returning to her place, the beauty is sad. Lita talks about the arrival of the Marquise of Grantes. They have never met. The visit is unexpected. The young man sent a letter, but it must have gone unnoticed. No one had handed over the envelope before. Someone else had intercepted it. The man arrived to receive official consent to be his partner at the banquet in honor of Estinil. The families had already reached an agreement, but personal consent remained. Ciri apologizes and explains that there was a mistake. She didn't know about the agreement. The conversation was going on, but Eugene guesses why this happened. As usual, the Countess will be accompanied by Acernia. However, it is better to get used to each other. There is talk that there will be an engagement. The plan is not for a wedding. Serena is not suitable for the Duke in terms of status. The Grantes family was involved in mining, and later, they and Melfort started a mining business, the mother using her daughter as a pretext for unification. Nodding, the beauty agrees to go to the event. She will temporarily pretend to be a bride. Eugene will stop by on the day of the banquet. At night, Serena decides to go for a walk. She needs to clear her head. The window in the room is open. Acernia comes in from the balcony. The young man came out of nowhere. He asks to hug him, all because he was hallucinating. His soul is uneasy. The answer to the question about what he saw should not be. Aegis cannot stop crying. He needs to hear words of love. 1,000 times before, the young man spoke of his feelings, but never asked to hear the same in response. The beauty does not want to lie. The words burst out on their own. Smiling, the man says that he saw his tongue being cut out. after which Siri asked him if he wanted to continue loving or if he wanted to kill her. There is a strange premonition inside. Ajas loves the Countess, but he chose something else. Without fully explaining, the brunette feels terrible and teleports. Akernia thinks he has gone crazy. Otherwise, he would not have shown up at night. He could not tell Serena directly that he wanted to kill her. His brain refuses to work. A scream bursts from his throat. Michael feels guilty for not realizing that Maxion had been scared almost his entire life, and the Raven brought information about the twins' whereabouts. Dark magicians were involved in the disappearance. The young man did not want his sister to be in danger too. The bird leads him forward along the dark streets. The path leads into the forest to the bell tower. The Raven descends to the ground. A magical trail can be traced. There is a hole ahead, not quite an ordinary rift, and behind her is the mother's voice. She suggests going in there. Without asking, the woman pushes her son. They are in a space for dark magicians. Only they and the offspring of Melfort can enter there. Michael has a lot of questions. If he follows the lady, she will definitely answer him all of them. This raises suspicions, although there is no choice. House Melfort did not come into being simply because the Emperor granted the title, but rather because a dark mage resorted to cunning to fake a great achievement and gain trust. The truth could only be revealed to the head of the house. The title was passed down from generation to generation, and over time, loyalty to the mages faded. At some point, as the years passed, the dark magic in the blood began to weaken. However, Pacius needed Melfort. Because something was born, the two were almost at their destination. The situation changes. Michael is most interested in where Karen and Maxion are. The woman calmly explains that nothing happened to them and their condition is stable. A wave of anger suddenly washes over him. He screams, asking his mother to let them go. A hissing voice asks if the man is a victim. He fits all the criteria. Water fills the space. Everything around sparkles. The guy loses all the air in his lungs. But until the very end, he repeats that he needs to save the twins. Please, let them go free. The banquet will begin soon. It will be held in honor of the birth of God. As agreed, Eugene came as a partner. However, at the very entrance, the girl was intercepted by Aegis. He asked her to step aside for a conversation. Having reached the room, the man left his beloved alone. Having waited for him, she was about to leave and realized that the exit was locked. A spell had been cast on the door and the area had been isolated. In the original story, Juliana is supposed to appear wearing a necklace she received from the Emperor, which has the ability to move magic circles, and the saint uses it to attack when she is kidnapped by magicians. An explosion is heard outside. The soothsayer has started his game faster than expected. The woman is trying to get out. Someone's voice, it seems that Kipron Eights is in the corridor. The protagonist is the only one who is able to resist a Jesu and can break the spell. His lordship asks for freedom. He can break the door, asks to step aside. The explosion makes you shrink. Eights broke through the exit, holding out his hand. He asks what happened and how his friend ended up locked in. A bad magician played a joke on her. It seems it was Duke Akernia. Locking someone up is nothing more than just a joke. But everyone has their own ideas about jokes and bullying. The ladies are escorted to a safe place. Dark magicians have appeared in the hall. Siri says that this is not necessary. She has other goals for the evening. Aegis shows up just in time. Things have become dangerous, and he thinks it's time to get out. Kipron wants to be the one who will be next to Serena. His sense of justice is being pressured. You don't seem to care about the people in the hall? There are many people around who are shaking with fear. The knight asks for forgiveness for going and not being able to accompany. Melfort is glad that they got rid of Aegis. A quarrel with the main character was not in the plans. The girl asks to be taken to Eugene's carriage. The young man is worried that she will meet its owner. This will not happen. The Countess wants to take one thing. There are still so many questions in her head. The heroine does not know whether the Duke would help her if he knew the truth. But if he found out that his beloved was trying to do something more dangerous, he would certainly be against it. His Majesty summons Ajes. The knight promises that he will protect the lady. Everything is going as well as possible. Only the man refuses to leave. He was ordered to stay nearby. Making a sweet expression, the heroine asks if there is anyone nearby. There are no dark magicians. However, it is better to go to a safe place. Siri does not object. She can handle one guard. It's stupid that they assigned someone much weaker to Melfort. It's better to quickly get to the place where the magic circle of movement is located. We need to find the patches space faster than the knights. In the original, it was mentioned that there is a path that will lead to the place where there is a magic circle behind the wardrobe. A passage opens in front of the lady. The magicians will follow very soon. The magic key is not activated by Siren's magic, so she took the magic fragments with her. The girl runs into AJ's. She asks not to come closer. I need to go to free you from the influence. A scream escapes her chest. The man never asked to be freed from the brainwashing. Melfort risks his life for everything to be normal. She feels guilty. Maybe she loves Ekernia. Karen hadn't felt warmth for a long time. The last thing he remembers is sitting in a cold cell, jumping up on the bed. The young man doesn't understand where he is. His leg is bandaged, and she is fine. The only explanation can only be dark magic, since the treatment was completed. Maxion abandoned the decision to escape and called the magician. The twin is not nearby. He simply disappeared. No one is worried that the young man might repeat the same thing. He was not limited in any way. It's time for him to get out. Raquel is informed that the hostage has escaped. They didn't keep an eye on him again and allowed him to escape. What's worse, Juliana also escaped. She killed all the guards protecting her and got out. Her potential was not realized. However, she is not useless. The girl moves to another place. On the ground there is a saint's necklace, which was created for magical movement. It's not easy for Juliana because she doesn't have her own protection. The Countess senses dark magic, and ahead she sees a blonde fighting with someone in the shadows. In front of her is a high-level monster. The only way to survive is not to be so slow, her mother's words come to mind. Rushing to her friend and grabbing her hand, the heroine runs headlong as far as possible, her gaze differing from the uncertain and weak girl. They have every chance of escaping. The girl just needs to wake up, asking to stop the monster for 3 seconds. The Countess begins to use magic. While she does this, Juliana is absorbed. Not all is lost, and the monster disappears. In place of the animal lies a saint, and a familiar figure stands. Caron barely managed to get out alive. Ciri for a few seconds cannot understand what he forgot in the dark place, and then jumps up. She throws herself on the young man's neck. Everything falls into place. What is happening really did happen because of her mother. The red-eyed one promises herself that she will never let go of her brother even a step again. Looking back, the heroine realizes that she has lost Juliana. She hopes for an original story, because then the knights will come to the rescue. Caron wants to save her. He needs to repay somehow. The monster ate the young man, and he thought that it was the end for him. But suddenly, the one who promised to heal jumped into his belly. She asked for Siren's help. The pain went away, and then he managed to get out. The problem is compounded by the fact that Maxion is nowhere to be found. The brother doesn't understand what his sister is doing in the Dark Mage's lair, and it seems she didn't come to save him, but he's still glad they managed to meet. The girl isn't sure she deserves to hear such words. They'll hurry and find the lost one. They'll all get out together. Earlier, the young man had already made an attempt to get out. It turned out that he came out onto some strange magic circle. Hearing this, the sister screamed. She understood what was being discussed. The expression on the girl's face suggests that they need to follow that circle. For starters, they just need to move forward. The heroine promises herself that this time she will not disappoint Aegis and will fix everything. Everything seems to be going according to plan. Turning to check on Karen, the heroine realizes that she has lost him. Melfort presses his daughter against the wall. I'm sorry, but you won't see Maxion. Ciri is quite predictable. The woman constantly watches the children and does not understand why they can't just do what they are told. The Virgin is trying to stop the influence on Aegis. Lying is pointless. Everything became clear long ago, even when the beauty turned 15. Then it became clear what was in her head. The deception could have succeeded, but with a terribly false look, everything fell apart. The owner will not look at his dog with love. At first she felt sympathy, but each time she felt that she lingered her gaze longer and longer. Even Aegis did not guess about love. The lady gives one last chance to atone for her guilt. The daughter is obliged to kill the Duke. He no longer plays any role. The dog, which has no value, must be shot. The Virgin is not going to kill anyone. The Countess chuckles. In that case, she is going to use magic. Behind Caron, who has managed to recover, he hits his mother and steps forward, hands off. They talk to Ciri calmly. She must understand that even if she frees him from influence, the man will never fall in love with her. He does not harbor feelings of love. He respects her. He had never been influenced to love. the lady tried. But the boy did not understand anything. She lost hope until one day she saw him praying. Siren was like a goddess to him. Adoration and love are close. All believers are for their God. The lady is not going to talk further. She throws Karen away. The statements that Ajis will be killed are false. She is being strangled. The girl's body will be used, even if she is the only one who has the strength to finish off Akernia. Getting up, the brother clearly asks if their father was killed by the same method. The mother falls into a stupor, and this is the only chance to escape. The magic circle is under the railing. The girl will be able to weaken the influence of magic. Making sure of this, the young man pushes his body forward. See you later. The blonde lands. The energy has not fully protected her. Her ankle hurts like hell. There is no time. Even through the pain, the heroine is going to move forward. So much was sacrificed for her. Aetes grabs her arm. He doesn't understand what the lady is doing in such a place. The girl was kidnapped. She is definitely not with the soothsayer. They were not going to interrogate her. When he suggests calling security, she screams, "I don't need this!" An earthquake occurs. A bad feeling occurs inside. A magic circle appears from under the ground. The girl experiences joy and fear at the same time. The Duke walks down the corridor, thinking about what will help his beloved. She just needs to wait! Juliana screams because she was captured after all. The man hoped that he would not be noticed. His wish does not come true. Pretending not to notice the saint doesn't work. With a click, the gentleman kills the wizard. The blonde thanks him for saving her and wants to ask for help. The look makes everything inside her turn over. The girl is scared, but she understands that she must save Serena. Gathering all her courage into a fist, she asks. The young man changes. He anxiously asks where the Countess is. They were together before she disappeared. The saint asks to follow her. The head is splitting. The closer the two get to the place where the lady is, the less stable the condition becomes. Akernia lags behind her guide. The siren sees a magic circle in front of her, the very one she was looking for. A strange energy emanates from it, and it reacts to the force. The vibrations become stronger. Kipron warns her to be careful. A huge tree grows from the circle. The heroine had heard about the circle. However, she did not suspect that she would see something like this. Juliana's voice is heard clearly. Please, both of you, get out of my way. Before she can come to her senses, the maiden sees Ajis. He rushes at Aetes. He moves quickly, does not listen to anyone. It seems as if the Duke has gone crazy. Looking closely, the Countess sees that the eyes have changed. She had already seen such a crazy look once. There is one way to change and end that horror. Grabbing the blade, the heroine tries to destroy the circle. It becomes quiet, turning around. The blonde meets Aegis's gaze. He obviously experiences a fit of hatred for the one he previously idolized. Lowering the weapon, they come closer to him. Perhaps the man doesn't remember anything, but everything is imprinted in Siren's head. She remembers every time they tried to kill her. In her memories, the maiden found what she denied. She understands feelings. Do what you want. The girl sinks to the floor. Even if they kill her, she will not be afraid and will allow it. Then, even in childhood, she should have rejected the boy. But until the last, she remembers how her heart beat at the moment of warmth. Someone's voice whispers that this feeling will never come back. It slips through her fingers and disappears. The beauty does not understand who exactly she is talking to. Opening her eyes, she finds herself underwater. Aegis is nowhere to be seen. The voice comes from somewhere below. It repeats that the day when it all began will never return. The red water stretches there. A huge eye is visible. Unknown magic promises to break the influence over the Duke's mind. There is a price to pay. The heroine is transported to an unknown space. She is no longer in the water. The dress has become short. After taking 2 steps, the heroine stumbles upon the same tree that she saw in the magic circle. Aegis is chained to it. He is about to die. He is too broken. There are traces of poison on his body. The beauty steps back, trying to cope with the shock, not understanding at all where the spots came from. She needs an explanation from the eye. The red mark is magic that was unable to flow through the body. In the end, it rotted and turned into poison. When the poison has consumed his entire body, the man will die. He only has 3 years left to live. In the original, he died at the same time, but was killed. The young man is called a thing. Many people have magic, but not in such a huge amount. Aegis is just a parasite. He wasn't born with power. He absorbed it. Things also don't have a specific limit, so magical ability grows over time. Poison in the body will prevent the ability from increasing. Everything falls into place. The Countess knew everything. She knew that the test subject would die. Even if her daughter did not dare to kill him, there was a way to change everything and save fate. Before telling the story, the tree asks about the original goal. The girl wants to remove the influence from the Duke. Preserving life has become much more important than everything else, moving to the forefront. The influence was assigned to the siren for a reason. She is special. The circle does not answer questions. I will tell you on one condition: give me your body. The unknown person promises that he will save the boy and end his imprisonment. The lady will give up her soul and die. She probably came prepared to make sacrifices. There is no attachment to her body. The heroine is sure that she does not need anything else. The body embraces the tree. It pulls it towards itself. Another voice is heard, asking her not to sacrifice herself. There are ghosts flying around. They are the victims who gathered together and formed a plant. They ask not to let the red spot fool us. We will stop influencing Ajes without any conditions. They know how the magic circle was created. If the part related to influence is not broken, it will be possible to free oneself. The victims will feed the Countess with their food, and with this, the young man will survive. In the eye, there is a child who has not yet been absorbed. The pupils dilate, because between the branches is the next victim. Michael, he falls unconscious into the arms of his sister. The man is still breathing. There is still a chance for salvation. The spirits circling around insist that they leave quickly. Pulling themselves together, the heroine looks around. She shouldn't be careless, but before she leaves, the heroine wonders how her brother ended up at the bottom of the tree. Melfort said that he was a sacrifice and dragged him there. Many people were sacrificed by Celestine. She is terrible. The spirits don't like the Countess's family, but they help Serena, because she's in the same boat with them. It's difficult to explain why the woman destroyed so many people, because the family secret is known only to the head. It is known that since ancient times, the House of Melfort has sacrificed people who possessed magic. They kidnapped and used all necessary means to achieve their goal. The first head had no powers, but then a magic circle appeared. It functions similar to how the devil accepts a soul as payment for the fulfillment of one wish. The master wanted to become a magician. No one suspects that the power that Melfort's ancestors wielded is so vile. The girl still does not understand why the circle made such an offer. The victims explain that the first chapter was a dark wizard. Michael becomes even worse. The girl is pushed to make a decision. She is asked to hurry before it is too late. The heroine wants to take Aegis with her too, they reassure her. He will be fine and will attack only when the magic circle is unstable, which becomes unstable very easily. This happened before the mistress tried to destroy it. When this happens, control weakens. Then the boy will begin to act recklessly in accordance with his desires. The reason why the young man tried to kill his beloved is simple. He wanted it. Opening his eyes, Aegis begins to say how much he missed her and does not remember anything. The girl said that she loves him, but for some reason, he keeps disappearing. The lady won't talk about his influence. They are both tired of it. Leaning closer, she kisses him on the cheek. Repeating how much she loves Aegis, the woman feels calm. She thanks him for the love that has been given to her all her life. Tears come to her eyes. The brunette no longer holds back. The beauty suddenly feels uncomfortable. It's better not to hope for anything. Initially, the feeling was not love, but admiration. When the hypnosis wears off, the relationship will come to an end. They are in a magic circle. Everything will end soon. The master repeats that he will experience feelings until the end. The barrier is destroyed. There is noise all around. Melfort steps forward. The hero still can't resist the Countess, but he will try to slow down time somehow. There is darkness in his eyes. The beauty will try to throw off the influence. The spirits ask him to hold on a little longer. While they are finishing their work, she is given the task of creating a barrier again. The red-eyed one is afraid to turn around. She just wants everything to end quickly. Outside is Ates. In front of him is Raquel, who is asked how to get inside. There is no time to deal with him. The brunette shrugs his shoulders. I don't see the point in answering. The magic circle collapses. Everything around falls on his head. The young man himself does not understand what is happening inside, and his desire to get there increases several times. Celestine thrusts a blade into her daughter's back. Her body falls limply onto the cold ground. She always felt scarlet eyes exactly like her father's. They always whispered that everything would end in betrayal. The woman is in incredible pain. She cringes, feeling how soon she will lose consciousness. Blood flows down her face. A miracle did not happen. In his distant childhood, Aegis asked who God was, and upon learning that it was an ideal being, the boy declared that Ciri was a goddess, and that she constantly cared for him, although she did not show love. Falling to his knees next to the body, the man picks her up in his arms. The tears do not stop. Melfort grins. She is going to kill the Duke too. Life without a girl has no meaning. Salvation is still possible, except for divine power. The ability to use black magic can heal. However, there are things that cannot be reversed. Everything is relative. Choking. Aegis apologizes and repeats that he will definitely obey. He asks for forgiveness for everything in the past. The spirits gather around. They shout at her, condemn her. She killed her own daughter, brother. She should have been killed instead of them. Initially, the lady had no magic, but as soon as she started casting spells, everything went downhill. The victims didn't yet know that they would all die, but she would be alive and happy and would have power. The heroine is distracted and orders him to shut up, taking advantage of the moment. The man throws the body to the ground and clasps his hands around the neck. The spell begins to wear off, since he is attacking. He cannot fully use magic, and the Countess does not allow it. He twists her hand. There's no point in thinking about witchcraft unless the woman wants her bones broken. As soon as Melfort experiences pain, the speed of the force slows down. Screams fill the space. Revive the siren. The body must be dipped in the nearby river, or healing magic must be used. However, it no longer works. Because time is running out, the Duke can remove the hypnosis from himself or save Ciri. The choice is his. Perhaps the hypnosis will never wear off. The choice is obvious. Freedom without it has no meaning. They descend into the river. The wounds begin to heal. The heart beats again. Breathing is restored. The young man is in chains again. Before him is the Countess in her original form. In her hands is incense that is used not for suggestion, but for torture. The last thing that comes to mind is how the water has swallowed everything around. The magic circle has weakened. One can only wonder if the hypnosis has worn off. The only way out of this is to dispose of what is no longer needed. Melfort was planning to do this anyway. Aegis asks about Siren. He better take care of himself. He will get worse very soon. The young man was kept close for a long time, and for a reason. He will become a sacrifice to restore the circle. The gentleman thinks that the girl is nearby. The rest does not interest him. The blonde opens her eyes, sits up in bed, and frantically examines the body. There is not a single wound or scratch. The woman does not know where her loved ones are. First, she has to find out. There is a balcony behind the door, some kind of garden below, a completely unfamiliar place. Pin comes into the room. He smiles, because she definitely remembers him. At the slave market, it was he who beat up Ekult, kidnapped the Countess during the holiday, and brought the wounded Ciri to his room. She was disgusted. She definitely didn't want to end up with such a person. Before starting a full-fledged conversation, the young man suggests changing clothes. His soft tone is misleading. Behind it lies not concern, but a confident command. For a moment, the heroine forgets herself. She is in no position to resist. The man knows everything, and to begin with the location of the brothers, the blonde changes into a dress. The body is exhausted, food is needed. The lady refuses to eat. It is not clear what was added. Pien will not try. He admits that he added a little sleeping pill. Melfort woke up earlier than initially expected. There will be no health problems due to the supplement. The woman jumps up. It is impossible to talk to him, and she wants to leave with every fiber of her body. She has nowhere to go, not knowing a way out. Her brothers are in the same place. If she does leave, she will abandon them. Patting the sofa, Pien asks her to sit down and start eating. There is nothing left to do but obey. Feeling completely lost, the beauty sits up, regretting that she woke up, hastily throwing down food. Melfort plunges back into sleep, regretting that she fell into the hands of a psycho. The next time she manages to open her eyes is several hours later. Her body doesn't obey at all. The lady has been lying there for too long. She was left unattended. Be that as it may, the heroine sneaks to the door. She needs to find her brothers. Again, strange sensations in her chest. The same feeling as from the magic circle when he was nearby. The woman follows forward and finds the very place. The circle looks intact. A weak voice is heard from under it, falling to her knees. She asks what happened to Aegis. What about the brainwashing? They told her that he would not last long. However, they mentioned that he could be saved. They wanted to give him food. Nothing worked. The Countess was wounded with a dagger. She was supposed to die. The salvation of the body was given to her. Feeling desperate, the lady lets out a scream. No one asked her to do this. She just wanted Aegis to speak with his real voice one day. She wanted him to find true feelings. There's no point in the spirits apologizing. It's not their fault. The girl tries to pull herself together. The conversation turns to brainwashing, but the voice is so weak that nothing can be heard. Even close contact with the circle doesn't help. The lady doesn't remember what happened to her. She wakes up again in the room, next to Pien. There is a man she doesn't know. He introduced him. Raquel followed him, since this account is suspicious. A week has passed since Siren fainted. There is complete chaos outside. This is expected. The lady is trying to get to the truth. When you found me, what was happening around? The friend is silent. He thought that the conversation would first turn to the brothers. They were just an instrument of pressure, so the sister is sure they are fine. Raquel will explain the details. He will give answers to questions later. The girl is about to be introduced to her brother. Something is not right. Smiling, Pien asks if there are any questions left. He still hasn't answered about Aegis. There was no one next to her. The woman can't guess whether they are telling her the truth. Things aren't going smoothly for them. They were trying to change base to escape from meeting Capron. If he found them, the Empire would destroy everything. The knight won't be able to find anything again. The snow outside the window testifies to the distance from the palace. Raquel takes Ciri to her older brother. He is lying unconscious. I will tell you straight. He is dying. If you are with us, we will save him. If you refuse, he will die. Maxion and Karen are under the care of their mother. The girl feels guilty. She was going to help. But in the end, she ruined everything, let everyone down. The magician again offers his help if they cooperate. The brothers will be brought too. The family will be safe and sound until the very end. The beauty does not understand what good she is. She has absolutely nothing. Blood ties mean nothing to Celestine. There is no choice. Cooperation will take place. The maiden hopes that Michael will be cured as soon as possible. Blackmail cannot be covered up with cooperation or intimidation. Something more compelling is needed for that. Raquel declares that she can show mercy, and he remains confident until the very last moment. The girl quickly analyzes the situation. She has one last advantage left. If she gives in, she will lose it too. Her behavior is like that of a completely fearless person. The magicians still have a trump card. Serena can't stand what's happening to tell her the truth. Raquel takes a long-distance approach, because he can't explain it that easily. Once upon a time, when no one knew about divine power or sword art, monsters easily invaded the people's domain, and at the same time, in one village lived the moon. One day, a plain maiden, when monsters were cruelly tormenting people, she prayed to the heavens for help. Despite her sincere prayers, the massacre continued and the moon lost consciousness. Something amazing happened. A black bead fell from the edge of consciousness and was swallowed. Opening her eyes again, the girl woke up as the most noble creature in the world. Something dark burst out of the hand and made the monster dissolve. Starting from the moon, people with magic began to be born. Then it was called light magic. Because the girl was a source, they began to call her the sacred artifact. At that time, commoners were objects. But still, it was the best treatment that could be afforded at that time. It all ended exactly when she died. After her death, magic began to gradually fade. People began to be devoured and unraveled by monsters again. Then, divine energy was created for healing. For 100 years, artifacts like the moon existed, but for a long time, no artifacts appeared. People began to lose hope, and then, in the shadows, dark magic arose, with the help of which healing and natural energy were impossible. Unholy magic became a salvation in the era of the artifact's absence. Years passed, different people were born, and at one fine moment the sacred artifact reappeared. Those who possessed white magic began to be persecuted. The two magics were incompatible, which is why the relationship between them changed. The Empire feared the power of the born and began a war. After the battles, the white magicians were defeated and were recorded in history as villains. They began to be called dark, and were recorded in history as such. Raquel dragged out his story and finally revealed all his cards. The reason he brought Siren is that she is a sacred artifact. It's hard to believe. The heroine ponders. She tries to calculate all possible options in advance. The first head of the Melfort family was a black magician. Perhaps the girl inherited his blood. It is decided to look at the records. A familiar feeling. There is a magic circle nearby. The mages have gathered around Ekernia, who is right in the middle. The Countess has come up with something that can restore the Scarlet Eye of destruction. The young man has no last wish that he would like to convey to Siren, since he prefers to talk in person. The man abruptly lowers his head and hits it on the circle. Blood runs down his forehead. He's not crazy. He's thought through all the possible scenarios perfectly. He used the blood, soaked in magic, as a guide. Even the lady understands that they need to catch him quickly. Otherwise, everything will become much more complicated. The Siren stands behind her, noticing a familiar figure. They immediately rush to her. The brunette begins to sing odes about how much he missed her. The only thing the red-eyed one thinks about is, did the brainwashing not work? The two evaporate, having left the cursed place. Ekernia suggests returning to her estate. The removal of the subconscious influence didn't work, and for some reason, when they meet their eyes, goosebumps run down their spines. Pian is a fugitive. He considers himself a knight in shining armor who managed to save the fleeing princess. Stepping forward, the hero persistently asks to release Ciri. The girl herself knows what's best for her to do. Michael's life is in the balance. He won't survive if he doesn't go with the mages. Ekernia understands that she's being blackmailed by her family. Are you really going to become a puppet? Insisting, the brunette declares that the beauty is obliged to choose him. He will force her, even if he has to use force. Lowering his head, Melfort remembers that the words were said to her from the very beginning. The magician reminds him that time is ticking. Distracted, Siren looks into Jesu's eyes. She asks him to kiss him. If the brainwashing didn't work, he won't be able to push her away. The young man experiences something. He falls to the ground immediately after their lips touch, asking for forgiveness for everything. The girl goes to Pian. She reminds him of the condition for Michael's healing. The man smiles and nods. He will do anything to appear good. Ekernia is left alone lying in the cold snow. The girl first goes to her brother's room. His complexion is not so pale, which indicates clear improvements. The treatment has only just begun, and he is already coming to his senses. Despite this, the improvements are temporary. There is a long way to go to get better. Nodding, Ciri clarifies how long the treatment will take. The situation was initially such that one treatment was not enough. Raquel offers another method. He can teach healing magic. She will be able to heal herself and will stop doubting. The young man was going to show it last time, but it didn't work out. There are forbidden areas of witchcraft, for example, raising the dead. The thought of Ajas flashed through his head. If this was true, the girl would heal him. There are examples of resurrecting animals and plants. It remains to test the method on people. Michael heard what was happening. He asks his sister to wake up. How could you contact them? The young man could die. He doesn't care. It's not worth selling his soul, the maiden understands. But she can't refuse him or Ekernia. Ciri can't obey and leave Passius. They will all definitely be fine, and the four of them will live happily. Screams are heard outside the cell door. The magician standing guard prefers to ignore them. But when he hears about the departure, he still decides to go in and try to separate them. The key turns in the lock. The next thing he sees is Caron, who attacks him and knocks him to the ground. A fork is pressed to his neck. This won't kill him, but the young man is strong enough and can handle even such a weapon. The twins ask where the food is stored, and when they receive the answer, the magician is knocked out. There is a snowy desert all around, and where the food is brought, there must definitely be a portal from the cursed place. The chance to escape is used cleverly. The two move through a glowing portal. They are surprised when they meet Ajas, who asks about their plans. Smiling, the brunette notices the resemblance to Siren. Karen is unable to appreciate what is happening and understands that this looks like sarcasm, nothing more. It's obvious where the twins will go next. They will go to the precious base to save Michael and Serena. He knows for sure that nothing will work. Maxian is also aware of this. However, the willingness to try something new outweighs it. There is no choice left. They have to go. It sounds like the man is laughing. He is evaluating all future plans. Laying his cards on the table, The Duke assures that he is only trying to help, and there is no need to worry about his brother's safety. Serena has joined the ranks of the Dark Magicians, and Aegis is trying to get the twins to visit their late father's family. Viscounty Alberton quickly became a hermitage, surviving on money sent by the Duchess of Melforte after the death of their son. None of the aristocrats are allowed in there. Perhaps the grandchildren will still be allowed in. Acarnea leaves and asks to tell him later. There is nothing to worry about, because he will do anything for Serena. His sudden change is disconcerting. In his head, the man can't help but thank Siren for freeing him from the brainwashing, so he will never have to obey again. House Alberton is located on the very outskirts. It was always so weak that few knew about its existence. Then all the aristocrats began to talk about it. The marriage with Melforte is to blame for everything. No one could understand the reason for the young lady's choice. She gained nothing from the wedding, but on the contrary, only lost a lot. The Duchess was paying off the family's debts. Her actions were considered quite unusual. Everyone around them began to think that they were happy, and at the most opportune moment, news appeared that the woman's husband had died in a fire. Everyone who saw her face on the day of the funeral said the same thing. Her face expressed grief over the loss. Caron and Maxion only know the backstory. They arrived at the gates of the house in the hope that they would still be allowed inside. When the owners realize that Alberton's sons have arrived, they immediately open the gates. Both the house and the garden are small and unkempt. The children are greeted by a smiling woman who doesn't understand why her nephews arrived so unexpectedly. Expressing sadness, Maxion explains that they missed their father. The aunt takes them upstairs to the room where Alberton lived before he went to the Duchess, around which lie things used in life. The man always stroked his sons' heads when he dressed them. He treated them with warmth and affection. They said he was a scientist, which explains the huge amount of paper scattered around. There is a sealed letter on the table. The first line sends a chill down his spine. He writes about everything, while realizing that most likely no one will ever read what he has written. He calls Celestine by her real name, Maria. The man understands that he will soon die if the girl continues to self-destruct. Everything could end extremely sadly. The husband would like to advise her to love her children, hug them more often, and speak words of love. Karen is impressed by what he read. Information about his real name was hidden for a long time. It is unclear what the motives were, and there are other oddities. Believing Maxion, his father was killed. However, in the letter, the young man was sure that he would soon die. They will continue to search for answers to questions. There is a book on the table that is enchanted. It cannot be read in any way. There is no title. It is a diary. After some time, the brother manages to open it with a spell. Ian writes about how he witnessed a murder. He never thought that Celestine would do this, not much later. The man decided to arrange an escape. He decided to get married in order to go away. Contrary to fears, the girl did not cause her husband any harm. Time passed. They grew closer. Alberton thought that everything was changing. However, the lady always treated everyone around her with a certain amount of falsehood. The Duke constantly picked on Ian. Apparently he was jealous, so he beat him. Sometime after Celestine learned about the beating, the man died. Everyone said that he fell down the stairs. But this was obviously not true. The servants began to disappear one after another. The mistress did not show it, only assured that the young man would not die. Alberton's condition worsened. He went to his father's house. Later, the news spread about Maria's cruelty. She killed all her brothers and father. And then, ascending the throne of her family, Celestine arrived and made an offer. It suited her that the man would not live even a few years. Maxion feels confused. They should check other things. One term has been bothering him since the morning, namely about the liberators. This is the first time my brother has heard about this. Once every few years, unusual creatures are born. They are born without magical power, but they absorb the magic of others. Contact with a great magician helps their power double. In my entire life, I've only met 2 liberators. One was a woman from a famous magical family, and the other was a newborn from a family that has nothing to do with magic. Twins put 2 and 2 together. When a new liberator is born, the power of the existing one disappears. However, this power was not inherited, although they are both the same, at the same time different. In the case of Celestine, she could only absorb the power by killing the one whose blood was the same with hers. The mother was going to sacrifice her children. In the case of newborns, it was enough to just touch them to absorb all the power. The child took Mary's energy, leaving her with nothing. There is a shrine. It is much more powerful. The diary indicates that Siren is one. Everything becomes more complicated. While following his wife, the man learned about her connection with Pacius and about the magic circle that requires sacrifices. She was going to use everyone in the mansion, and even her children. It took a long time before the man managed to find a way to kill his wife. He asked why the offer was made to him. He would have died anyway. The maiden was not going to sacrifice him, so as not to dirty her hands. No one knew when Alberton was destined to die, but he understood that his time had almost come. The man asked for one thing, that the children be protected from certain death. Celestine calmly answered, as always, that it was impossible. The man tried to kill the woman for a long time, but he failed every time. Only in September 881, he realized that he could not kill her, despite the fact that he had decided he still loved her. He resorted to a cowardly method, deciding to help his children kill Celestine. Maxion and Caron decided that they had nothing more to do in their father's house. They went to Achernia, where Eicult was also located. After getting acquainted, it was time to talk, and the notes left by Albatron fell into the hands of the Duke. Maria probably wants to use the man to take away the power of the sacred artifact that Siren possesses. The woman needed a sacrifice to bear his children. The elf understands that Siren is in danger. Celestine gains power by sacrificing in a magic circle, which must be destroyed, and she will not sit idly by if someone tries to destroy what is important to her. Maxion already knows the way, but he feels lost. Eicult asks directly if his brother had ever shown any strange behavior. Karen nods. Sometimes he would start singing strangely and fall down. The symptoms of Amalion were obvious. It is poisonous and can destroy the mind if used incorrectly. They tried to cloud the boy's mind so that he would not be able to remember the spell. There is only one thing left to do: heal his mind and then find the magic circle. Raquel checks on Michael. His condition has improved significantly. He doesn't allow Serena to see her brother, because they can do anything, even agree to escape. The young man has come to his senses, which means the situation has become more problematic. With success in her studies, the girl will soon master healing magic. Someone bursts into the room. Something terrible has happened. The shrine has disappeared. The blonde man orders her to tell what exactly happened. His reaction is quite justified. Something is not working out. Melfort returned for her brother, but in the end she runs away. Her chambers are empty. There are too many thoughts in her head. Running away is for the best. But the Siren that her brother knows could not do this. The man releases the test subject. He is tamed by her blood and will be able to follow her. It turns out that the beauty was kidnapped, namely taken away by Celestine. Raquel orders a squad of elite magicians to be brought in. They are obliged to find the girl. A raven arrives at Achernia's house and tells her that the Countess has been kidnapped and that she is known to be cooperating with Pacius, so there is only one person left who wants the kidnapping. They will have to come up with a way to stop Maria. Amalion's detoxification will be carried out right on the way. The poisoning is not severe, and he will be able to cleanse himself easily. Eicult has everything ready. Michael's test subject will go ahead and drive the carriage. Celestine stands over her daughter, who lies unconscious on the floor, and in her head she hears the voice of her deceased husband. He knows that the woman is too cowardly and promised that if they do not listen to him, he will destroy everything that is dear to her. On the day when the girl heard this, she thought it was stupid, because she didn't have anything dear. The girl couldn't even imagine that Ian had thought everything through and was speaking with all seriousness. After Maria was adopted into the Melfort family under a new name, nicknames haunted her relentlessly. The third son, Oder, especially hated the girl and tormented her in every possible way, throwing her out into the street in the cold, locking her in the attic for several days. She always responded with an indifferent expression. She didn't care, but that was the only reaction she was capable of. She had no magical power. A turning point had come in her life. One day she was reading a book. The sharp smell of alcohol came with her brother. The man wanted to play a game, his arms wrapped around her thin neck. He grinned and offered victory if she could hold out long enough. The more she writhed, the worse the situation became. She was lucky. Her hand reached something standing nearby. After the blow, the young man died. Frightened, Celestine was about to run away, when suddenly the strength began to pass from his body. At that moment, the red mass spoke to Melfort. It was their first meeting. The girl learned the way to gain all magic. The girl was 13 years old, and then she killed her entire family. Her father made insincere apologies before his death and handed over the key to the secret room. With this, Maria was able to reveal the secret of the family. Dark magicians came to her, becoming the new head, and she willingly accepted their offer. She thirsted for the power they possessed. Cyrene lies right in front of her mother. She probably hopes that there was a good reason for her actions, but she simply craved strength. She wanted no one to be able to put her down and insult her. She was just running to the limit. Before meeting Alberton, everything was exactly like this. Ciri wakes up. She is scared of what is happening. Mom had to try hard to move the magic circle. There is no time for explanations. Footsteps are heard. The shrine has been discovered. Michael runs forward first. Celestine stops them. They are too late. A huge stream of power erupts around. The blonde tries to grab his sister's hand until the very end. The girl doesn't know how to get out. The last thing she remembers is the figure of Ajes in the distance. She can't believe it's true. The body ends up in a strange place. There's water all around, but it doesn't interfere with breathing. The feeling of déjà vu haunts her. Michael falls to his knees, having failed again to protect his sister. The shrine is pulled inside the magic circle. The twins are in a hurry. Acarnia has left, leaving them behind. Hugging their brother, they ask what happened. Their mother is targeting Ciri. She needs to be saved. Apparently, the girl's body was pulled inside the circle. The guys decide to tell what they managed to find out. First of all, the only way to stop Melfort is to destroy the red eye. But if you try to destroy it thoughtlessly, the siren inside will also be at risk. Acarnia explains that earlier, they tried to figure out the magic formula. It turned out that he has his own consciousness. While it resists, no one can enter inside. Everything inside is under his control. The situation will worsen. All that remains is to force those inside to come out. The circle's formulas will be changed to cause a reverse flow of magical energy. Maction's memories are gradually returning, although his head is still foggy. The circle supports the life of the Countess. One day the father stabbed the mother with a knife. He wanted to kill her, but nothing happened. He did not understand why this was happening and felt completely lost in space. The woman just grinned. No matter what he did, she would never die. The eye did not understand how long the girl planned to continue. The power of the artifact was too tightly tied to her daughter's body. It could not be torn out so easily. The mother only has to kill Siren. In her youth, the lady strove for power until Ages took it away. Alberton staged an amusing prank. He dared to threaten. With the desire to stop his wife, he burned himself to the ground, committed suicide. Initially, Ian's life was forcibly extended. The blonde was finding it harder to breathe because of the wound. In fact, he committed suicide because of his daughter, even though he hated the Countess. It doesn't go unnoticed that the mother, who is always calm, is acting extremely agitated. As soon as you start talking about your father, the woman takes out her blade and orders you to remain silent. The siren is trying to change something. She still needs to heal her brother and find the twins. The eye is screaming, ordering Celestine to quickly kill the shrine. A bright light is emanating from the body. The same thing happened last time, when there was danger. The girl manages to get back on her feet, but what's happening isn't good for her mother. A protective barrier forms around the beauty. She instinctively understands how to use her power, and the goal becomes to fill the space with white light. Celestine doesn't understand what's happening. A voice screams that there's a threat from outside. Charon from outside reminds her mother that no one has the right to try to harm her sister. As she approaches, the woman freezes, her red eyes reminiscent of Ian. That evening, Maria was with Alberton. He did not understand why his life was extended. Even if the beauty's strength had diminished, she only snorted. Delusion must also have some limit. The lady suggested trying to die. She understood that nothing would happen. Every movement was in the palm of her hand. If the man made an attempt, he would simply be revived. Nothing worked. Using magic that blocked healing, he bled black. Ian's consciousness died, but his organs are still alive and functioning. If the Duchess uses the power of Kermul, he will come back to life. The man is engaged in blackmail. His wife will try to kill Ciri, and if she tries, everything that was prepared will be destroyed. The spell was given to a trusted person. The young man asked Maria to raise the children in love, and when Serena grew up, to secure her consent and revive Ian. If he did not revive, all of Melfort's dirty secrets would be revealed. Parents have the right to be mean for the sake of their children. The woman had no doubt, because even if the connection with Pacius was revealed and she was accused of treason, nothing would be scary. All these years, the maiden's heart burned with hatred for the fact that they were treating her like this. The plan still would not change. Celestine was pierced. All of this came to mind at that moment. The body falls down. Looking at her mother, Ciri asks if it hurts. Because once, the girl was also in pain. Her brother shouts that the magic circle needs to be destroyed. Mother needs to recover. We need to finish this before it happens. The red clot is the center that feeds everything else. We need to get closer to it. The waves are too strong, making it impossible to concentrate. Blood begins to flow from wounds that had previously barely been contained with magic. This is obviously the limit. The girl is picked up by Aegis. The woman is recovering. She can no longer give in to emotions. Ciri is nowhere to be seen. The circle has trapped her underwater. After some time, she must have become quite exhausted and weakened. The shrine calmed down. They lifted her up. In a weak voice, she asks what her mother will do. Smiling, Celestine understands. You are not my daughter. In front of her is Aegis, his eyes screaming even louder than before. He doesn't understand what the young man did, how he managed to enter. Melfort understood everything because the girl usually makes sarcastic remarks rather than acting scared. Siren appears behind the scarlet spot. She uses magic. Celestine wants to protect, but Acnea interferes with her. It's light all around. There's a bright flash. Aegis is trying to find the girl, but she still fell into the hands of her mother, who puts a blade to her throat. The woman has lost absolutely everything. She no longer feels the energy of the dark clot. A nervous laugh escapes from her throat. The Duke did not come without preparation. The very same words of the song are heard. They once talked about this with Ian and decided to change the tune a little. The blade falls from Celestine's hands. The woman has lost everything. They will not kill her. The Duke picks up Siren in his arms. They will have to leave, because now that the red clot has disappeared, everything around will soon begin to collapse. The man looks at the girl's face. Only when the power of the shrine that Ciri possessed exploded, he felt how all the wounds on his body were healed. The young man remembers how the suggestion fell from him when he was drowning. Embracing the girl under the water, a white light emanated from his body. This light, like a miracle, removed the suggestion and neutralized the poison. She had this effect. Karen is pounding on the floor. He doesn't understand what's going on there. Aegis didn't say anything and disappeared. A bright white light shines from the magic circle. Michael squints. Opening his eyes, he is surprised. The excruciating pain inside his body passes, as if it had never been there. Cracks begin to appear in the magic circle. The building is about to collapse. Raquel orders everyone to go outside. Her sister still hasn't come out. Akernia told her in advance that getting out would be problematic. The passage is closed. There is no time left. Charon is against leaving. Maxion is trying to change his mind. The elder intervenes. He is also worried, but cannot risk the lives of the twins. There is no time for arguments. The blonde knocks out the young man. With his character, he would rush forward and be stubborn to the last. Siren should be fine. Celestine sees her husband. She lived her whole life instead of that dead child from Melfort. Everything turned out the way Ian wanted. The children took absolutely everything from her. The letter, full of curses, became reality. The girl could not even imagine that the end would be death. The woman is sure that if she had known in advance, she would still have walked along the road strewn with thorns. Scarlet Eye, long imprisoned in a magic circle, longed for freedom, so the Duchess offered him a sacrifice and the body of her daughter in exchange for the opportunity to revive Ian. Everything went to pieces. Everything was destroyed. The circle was destroyed, and saving the young man was not possible. The woman wanted to revive him and then kill him. She wanted to see his scarlet eyes again. Aegis has finished his preparations. Siren may be destined to be absorbed. The magical explosion that Aegis experienced was due to Siren's power. He couldn't withstand the energy of the shrine. However, this had other consequences. The poison was neutralized, so the young man's body was ready to become a holy relic. The Countess would not see what became of them. Realizing that she has lost everything, the woman believes that the outcome she received is not so bad. She will dissolve into space forever. The siren opens her eyes. The young man bursts into tears. He was very scared. His body was too cold. It was all over, and it would be much better. The girl asks Aegis to wait before they call everyone else. While the power exploded, the heroine saw a vision. The light swept away the efforts of all loved ones who felt pain. Seeing that everything was fine, the maiden realized that the regrets to which she had clung so diligently all this time had disappeared. She cast aside both guilt and pity. They are both free. Melfort has received the freedom she dreamed of. Her soul is still empty. Although nothing was wrong, the girl already said that she loves Aegis. She repeats it again, but this time without pity. The light is a little blinding. His eyes close. The young man cannot stop sobbing. He presses the body to himself, begging not to be abandoned. It's getting brighter all around. The power can resurrect the dead. By acquiring energy, Siren can be saved. You've always been a miracle. Let me be your miracle. The girl comes to, her eyes open. Almost immediately, Ikernia kisses his beloved. He asks to come back together. Everything will be fine. They have nothing more to fear. The twins rush towards them. They are the first to run up to their sister and shout out how happy they are. The warm atmosphere makes Serena smile. She is happy to see them together with Michael. Nothing will separate them.